Hello everybody, Joe Baggy Donuts here. Welcome back for another episode of Umineko. Don't know what happened there. Just stroked out, I guess. Seems to be happening fairly often recently. How strange. Anyway, good news for you guys. I finally finished not Umineko. We're doing Umineko right now. No, I have not finished it. That'd be weird. Future me has probably finished it, but not me right now. I finished Mihoyo. So now we're back down to just one series, so that way I'm able to divert all my time and effort to this, so that way I can actually get a backlog going again, instead of just finishing, like, processing a video 30 minutes before it's supposed to go live, and I still need to upload it to YouTube. Oops. Which is probably what's going to happen today. It's already 3 a.m. This is close to 2 hours, 5. It would probably be up at 7, but YouTube's been weirdly slow with processing the HD videos. Like the upload, words. The upload will finish, but it'll be like still processing HD, and it'll be like, yeah, check back in like an hour and a half, and it's like, what the fuck, man. Anyway, the story. What happened in the story? Kinzo has thrown down the gauntlet. Challenge has been issued, and I don't know what's going on with Anjay. She was just kind of doing that thing like where a cat stares at like the corner and is just staring at it, and like it's like, you see something there? And there's nothing there, and everyone's like, what the fuck's going on? Fucking cat's got brainworms. Maybe she does. Maybe the parasites got to Anjay. You never know. Anyway, I got a can of coffee today because I drank the last of my coffee last night. I could probably run like another pot through my big pile of grinds that I got in my my coffee maker, because to make one big pot that I have, you're supposed to do 4 scoops, but I would run out of like coffee in a week if I did that. So what I usually do is I just leave the previous coffee grinds in there and then just add 2 fresh scoops on top. So that way, you know, reusing some of the old ones that still have like some use, and saving a little bit on the new coffee. But I ran out, and I have like no food in the house, besides like pasta and ramen. So that was my dinner today. I made a brick of ramen, my emergency rations for when I go grocery shopping tomorrow, to hold me over. And I have a lot of fucking Boss coffee. Like, it's not even funny. I have like an entire drawer in my fridge that's just full of cans of Boss. For a while, I was subscribed on Amazon to like the monthly delivery service, but I didn't drink them too much because, you know, I normally just have drip coffee that I make, because I prefer my coffee hot. Cold's fine. You know, Rainbow Mountain Blend. It's also got sugar in it, so I don't want to rot my teeth. So just little stopgaps, and I didn't feel like making tea and like the hustle and bustle of like making sure I don't burn it and yada yada yada. I'm rambling. Get used to it. Anyway, moving on. Yes, Jessica, a test. Do I actually have my audio levels balanced? I do. Good. I had to reset my computer today, so everything's all out of whack. At least on my end. Once again, there was a call from Kraus to the guest house, and the message was that Kinzo wanted to hold a test to see if the grandchildren had the qualifications to be the next head. I also bought a new phone yesterday. I got the new Pixel 7 Pro. Big upgrade from my Motorola Z3, which, it was a decent phone, but it's getting to the point where it's just like runs out of battery in like 2 hours, and if it gets below 30%, it just turns off. And it has like no memory left. It only came with like 64 gigabytes. My new one has like 256 or something, and way nicer screen. I just gotta wait to get my old man phone case in, because I prefer like one of those wallet phone cases that's like the clamshell, and it's made of leather. No particular reason. I don't really like carrying around things in my pocket, because my pockets are always full of work stuff. Like my pencils, my notepad, my multi-tool, any other garbage I need, miscellaneous tools I put in there that I forget about, and then I have to search for because I can't find them and I thought I lost them somewhere. That would never happen to me. No, sir.
孫たちの中から選びたいとそうおっしゃっている。
From Krause's restrained style of speech, Jessica realized as his daughter that he was being forced to speak. And she was forced into the realization that the hostages were being exposed to danger even now. And that if they refused this test, there was a possibility that the hostages would be harmed.
それで私たちはどうすればいいの？
待て。
Krause held this receiver away from his ear, then looked at the grinning Kinzo on the other side of the bars. Kinzo gave his next order.
テストの前に無関係なものを排除しなくてはならない。
So, goodbye, Goda and Kumasawa?
ゴーダと熊沢がそこにいるのであろう。
Did they just have to show up for their own volition, or...?
テストに干渉されては邪魔なのでな。彼らをゲストハウスより追放せよ。
追放ですか。
バラ庭園に園芸倉庫があったはず。そこへゴーダと熊沢を閉じ込めて施錠せよ。まずはそれからだ。
Okay, a little cruel, but, you know, not the worst.
直ちに遂行するように伝えよ。
The alternative is a lot
我が
worse.
武具たちが監視する。疑わしい行為に及べばテストは直ちに中止し、お前たちすべてを生贄として処刑する。
わかりました。もしもしジェシカ、今から父さんの言うことをよく聞きなさい。
Krause relayed to Jessica the orders to lock up Goda and Kumasawa.
どんなテストをなさるつもりですか？
ああ、実に簡単なテストだとも。孫たちの覚悟を見せてもらうだけだ。
Okay, so like an endurance thing?
さて、どんな結果を見せてくれるのか。
With displeasure, Kyrie watched Krause, who was talking with the children. It's regrettable, but for now we can't refuse orders. In this dungeon, a feeble resistance won't amount to anything. If we provoke him too much and drive him into a position where he might kill us, there will no longer be any way to stop this murderer. For now, the only choice left is to obey his rules without agitating him, all the while waiting for a chance. However, if we continue to obediently follow his commands, the children might be attacked in the so-called test, and they might even lose their lives. Whether we feign obedience or try to resist, nothing will cause the situation to improve. Anyway, keeping our eyes peeled so that we don't let a single chance escape until the very end is the only resistance possible now. While telling herself this, Kyrie watched over Krause as he delivered Kinzo's orders.
キリエさん、ここは辛抱しましょう。
わかってるわ。
Let me just turn down my microphone's volume.
悔しいけれど、今は待つしか
Well,
ない。
my headset's volume, but I have to do it with the knob on my microphone.
この鉄格子さえ
Yeah,
な
my
くで
audio
きれ
setup's
ば
a little jank.
私たちは屋敷へ戻ることができるんだから。
なんとかここを出られれば。試してみ
I
ま
could
しょう。
probably get some better headphones too. What even do I have? I know they're like noise canceling, but I don't think they're Bose. Yeah, they're just Sony. Great when I'm flying. It cuts out all the engine noise and like the airflow through all the vents. There's a lot of background noise in an airplane.
金蔵さん、頼みがある。
何か我が友よ。
金蔵さんが子供たちを試したいというのはよくわかった。金蔵さんの納得のいくようにするといい。
Like it's good for blocking out all that,
金蔵さん
you
の
know,
力
that
がな
background
けれ
noise
ば
when I'm trying to focus on something else, like how I was watching fucking Escaflowne when I was flying into Afghanistan.
その担い手を慎重に選びたい気持ち、よくわ
Good
か
show.
る。
I still need to finish it.
それに、
I only have it saved on my laptop, which is why I haven't been watching it.
私ら邪魔はせんよ。
お前の理解が得られて助かる。
Yeah, you gonna let us out on good behavior?
そうだ。これは親族会議なのだ。 私が次期当主を選び決定する最後の親族会議なのだよ。
それでだが金蔵さん、ここはあまりに冷えす
These
ぎ
old
る。
bones.
あんたのテストの邪魔はせんから、もう少し暖かい場所に移してもらうことはできんかね。
At least get us like a space heater. And Nanjo's words, the slight signs that Kinzo's mood had been improving, were blown away. A moment of silence struck Nanjo as Kinzo glared at him with dangerous eyes, as though evaluating him.
確かにここは冷えますね。老体には
Yeah,
おつら
fellow
い
old
でしょう。
bags band together.
親方様、上の部屋に移し替えてもよいのでは。
それはできぬ。甘いぞ南條。お前は一手猶予を与えるような素振りで実に華麗に布石を打つではないか。その手には乗らんぞ。凍えるというなら真っ赤に焼けた石炭でも敷き詰めてやればよい。
Can you at least bring us some blankets?
申し訳ございません。
Virgilia had tried to help out too, but in the end, Kinzo was having none of it.
あなたたちはおとなしいのね。その気になればこんな鉄格子簡単に破れるでしょう。
ここを破ったとて何もなりません。
確かにここを破ったならゴールドスミスのゲームが終わることを意味する。あなたたちも、そしてゲストハウスの人間たちも即座に金蔵の儀式の生贄となるでしょうね。でも案外あなたたちだけかもしれないわよ。この状況を打開できる力を持っているのはね。
Yeah, you can have your big hero moments,
黄金鏡にたどり着きたいんでしょ。
but like not die this time?
叶えたい夢がいっぱいあるんでしょ。
ガーク、挑発はいけませんよ。
Yeah, quit teasing him.
これはあなたのゲームではない。
I know you're a demon, but like enough with this temptation stuff. Shoot.
親方様、そしてお嬢様のゲームです。
どうしたロノウェイ。
いえいえ何も。捕虜とおしゃべりをしていました。お許しを。
Gap sent one final sneering smile at Cannon and turned away. Cannon could only bite his lower lip and shake his fist.
よく頑張ったね。よく我慢したよ。
僕たちは無力だ。家具だから。
そうだね。私たちは無力。でも家具は必要とされることだ。
Whenever he says that, all I can think of is this little video I saw on Twitter that I've saved on my phone. It's just where it's Cannon just yelling, "Boku wa ningen janai!" And then he goes, "Boom!" and fucking just turns into a chair. It's like 3 seconds long, but I love it.
今の私たちは暗い地下室にしまわれているだけ。きっとい
If
つ
I
か
cared more about my content, I would even put it in the video for you guys to see, but I don't want to do that because that means I would have to dig around and find it.
必要としてくれるから。だから今は挑発に乗らないで耐えよう。ね。
お父さん、ゴーダたちを倉庫に閉じ込めるよう指示をしました。
よかろう。
Man, now they gotta like take down all those fucking chairs and desks they
電話を
locked
切
all
っ
the
て
doors
よ
with.
い。シエスタ姉妹、孫たちがゴーダと熊沢を閉じ込めるのを監視せよ。もしも不審な動きがあるようならば、その時点で次期当主を選ぶテストは終了だ。
When Kinzo made his order, the Chiester sisters appeared behind him in a line.
了解であります。石膏は私がやる。556と410は
Sure, that's a very good
両翼
idea.
支援。
You know, with your one eye and no depth perception.
45は全周警戒。
00-556は
そうだった。すまない。
いい子でした。だから私は嫌いに。いいやつは。
何をしているかシエスタ姉妹。
Fucking fourth one.
我が命令を遂行せよ。
失礼しまし
That
た。
is no longer with us? Question mark.
では監視に向かうであります。出撃。
The Chester sisters erased their forms simultaneously. Nanju and Kirie witnessed the instance they appeared and disappeared as if by teleportation. But they interpreted this as if they had probably moved in and out of the darkness in a way that only looked like teleportation. And the two could do nothing but rub their eyes.
さて、私はテストの準備をしよう。ロンウェイ、ガープ、お前たちには試験官を頼む。ワルギリアはこやつらを監視するように。何しろ我が家具が2人いる。一応は警戒せよ。
Careful with Virgilia. She's gonna pull the good cop fucking, that routine on you. He glanced sharply at Shannon and Cannon, tightly closing her eyes. Shannon gave a silent bow, answering wordlessly that she would not cause any trouble.
かしこまりました。注意します。
リーアの老体には寒くて辛くない？
Well, she'd probably be better if, her dress had a top.
湯たんぽでも持ってくる？
うるさいです。早く追いきなさい。ガップ。
さてさて、テストとは、そして試験官とは、今回のゲームは変わった試みですね。お嬢様を楽しませる展開になると良いのですが。
さあさあおいでなさい。ヤギの従者たち。
Virgilia called out into the dark, and from that spot, 3 massive goat-headed attendants slowly melted into vision.
リーチの眷属ね。便利だわ。しかも暖かそうだし。ああ、湯たんぽの代わりね。
I don't want to think about
な
that.
ら、ヤギより羊の方がいいんじゃない？
カシミヤ臓器のくせにうるさいですよ。彼らは賢くはありませんが、命令に忠実で強靭な頼れる従者たちです。
It's not like me.
うん、任せるぞ。我が友ワルギリアよ。残りの者は私と来い。
Kinzo turned with a grand swish of his cloak. Following him were Runaway and Gap, as well as the 3 recently summoned goat attendants.
あなたたちは私と残るのですよ。ついていかないように。
The goats jumped in surprise, then came plodding back. Kirie, who had been watching in disbelief as all this played out, couldn't help but snort.
愉快な部下ね。ゴールドスミス卿より死後の許可は与えられていませんよ。
They trying to get us all in trouble? She was probably a little embarrassed. Virgilia had spoken coldly, but Kirie could see right through that. For a little while, she couldn't restrain her muffled laughter. However, on the inside, Kirie was surprised at the number of people Kinzo had with him. Because, including Kinzo himself, at least 10 enemies had already been spotted. The dungeon they were currently locked in was supposedly underneath a hidden mansion called Kuadorian. Although this mansion's existence had been whispered of, not even Kraus had known it for a fact until today. Were there actually several facilities like this in Rokenjima, unknown to all but Kinzo, hiding untold numbers of henchmen that only Kinzo knew of? Just how many humans are in Rokenjima, locked away by the typhoon? 18. No, actually, are we the only ones under the impression that there are only 18 people on this island? As we bickered over whether Beatrice existed or not, and racked our brains over something as minor as a 19th person, we were on this island, the perfect example of frogs in a well? Were we on this island? Okay. I understand the sentence now. Were we on this island the perfect example of frogs in a well? No, wait. In fact, at this point, are there actually more people on the enemy's side than on ours?
何が起こってるの？一体。
Yeah, not a very good position to be in.
魔女？悪魔？魔法？それを信じろというの？おかしいのは私の目？それとも頭なの？
You're losing it.
頭がどうにかなりそうよ。
Mass murder by magic. Demons forming and disappearing in thin air. More importantly than the enemy's numbers, how should we interpret the various things thrust before our eyes that cannot be explained with the common sense of this world? Curie started to feel like she didn't know what was going on anymore. And, while desperately battling the urge to abandon everything and give up, she clenched her teeth in an attempt to hold on to her sanity. Obviously, Goda and Kumasawa were quite unwilling to be locked in the Rose Garden shed. But they had been threatened that, if they resisted, the hostages' safety could not be guaranteed. It was fairly hard to get them to agree, but once the idea was raised that their safety might actually be guaranteed, the key to the gardening storehouse was to be handed to them through a cracked, open window after they were shut inside. And it was suggested that blankets and food could be carried in for them. They were finally convinced.
ここは寒々しいですね。私たちはいつまでここに閉じ込められていればいいので
It's
しょう
only
か。
October, and you're like down in the tropics. She'll be fine.
下手をすると月曜の朝まで丸々一昼夜はいてもらうことになるかもしれない。本当にお二人には申し訳なく思うよ。
George and Battler cleared a space on the floor and spread the blankets there. They also left the canned food, crackers, and other light snacks they had brought.
月曜の朝までを二人でこの量じゃ辛いな。
Bring them any water?
せめて厨房に言われたなら。
余計な場所には行くなと言われてる。私たち
Well,
は監視さ
they're
れ
in
て
a
るら
gardening
しい
shed.
し
There might be a spigot on the wall or something.
何もお力になれないことを申し訳なく思います。こんな時に皆さんのおそばにいてこその私どもなのに。
仕方ないです。それより熊沢さんをよろしく頼みますね。何が起こるかわからない。いざという時は臨機応変に助けてほしい。そして何よりも無事でいてほしい。
ええ、分かっています。
Yeah, don't die like a chump again.
皆さんこそ気をつけてくださいね。今の親方様はまるで人
You
の
got to be a
命
little
を
cool
チェスの
once,
駒の
but
ように奪います。
not anymore.
気をつけてください。
Goda stared at the floor, remembering that atrocity in the dining hall, even now unable to believe what had happened. And he hung his head in shame at his inability to fully describe that terror.
ありがとう。くれぐれも注意してくださいね。熊沢さんも。
ジョージさんたちもくれぐれもご用心なさってくださいね。もう私には何が何やらさっぱりわかりませんとも。
それじゃあ僕たちは行きます。行こう、バトラ君、ジェシカちゃん、ほらマリアちゃんも。
Yep, come on, Maria, you're the fucking brain of the operation. Looking at the painful expression on the faces of the pair to be imprisoned, it became hard to close the shutter. But we can't disobey. We're being watched. Brought the shutter down and locked it. Then George headed to the small window on the side of the storehouse. It was a small latticed window that could only be used for light and ventilation. It looked like something from a jail, making the two of them seem even more pitiable. But on the other hand, it would protect them from Kinzo and his subordinates, or so one would hope. He opened the window and called out.
大丈夫ですか？寒くないですか？
It's probably a bit chilly.
毛布をこんなにいただきましたからね。
Just got a burrito yourself.
くるまっていればきっと平気ですよ。
石油ストーブとかを持ってくればよかったな。
ここじゃ換気できないか
Yeah,
らね。
you would just fucking gas them.
辛いだろうけど今は仕方がない。僕たちは人質を取られている。逆らえない。
なんとかキレイさんたちを救出することが
No,
で
you
き
just gotta win, you know, solve the test.
し
Or beat the test.
聞かれてるかもしれないよ。ゴーダさん、これそのシャッターの鍵です。
George threw the key in through the tiny window.
確かにお預かりします。
Goda took the key, and after showing it to Kumasawa, placed it in his own pocket. There was only one key to the gardening shed shutter. The gardening shed's shutter. Okay. Just a lot of S's there. That was being held by those who were locked up inside it. If the children had held on to it, then it was stolen from them by some chance, that would risk exposing the lives of those in the shed to the danger. And even with the key, the shutter could not be opened from the inside. It satisfied Kinzo's demand. However, there was now no longer any way to open the shed from the outside either. This would protect them. Kinzo had ordered them to be confined, and we could do nothing but trust that this cold, locked room would protect them. Holding Maria's hand, Jessica watched George hand over the key, and looked over the thickets in the pitch-black rose garden. Somewhere in this darkness, someone was hiding, watching to see whether they obeyed orders or not. Of course, merely pointing their flashlights out there did nothing to make any suspicious silhouettes appear. But someone was surely out there, hiding and watching. They were hit many times with an urge to scream at them, but they held back through reason. The four children left the area behind, repeatedly looking back over their shoulders. Feeble light from the light bulb in the gardening storehouse was seeping out slightly. Was it all possible that this insane incident would somehow come to an end, so that they could see those two again? To George, who had closed the shutter himself, the resistance of the lock made it feel as though he had killed him with his own hands.
それでも俺たちは逆らえないんだよな。
テストだとクソじじいめ、ふざけやがって。それで母さんたちが殺されて父さんたちが捕まって理解できねえぜ。ぶっ殺してやる。
You really like saying that. You're never able to follow through though.
大丈夫だよ、ジェシカお姉ちゃ
Yeah,
ん。
they'll all revive in the Golden Land.
悲しくなんかないよ。
マリオ。
もうすぐ魔女は蘇る。すぐに黄金鏡で会える。
Bop.
不謹慎なことで笑うんじゃねえぜ。何が魔女復活の儀式だ。妄想はじい様の頭の中だけにしときゃいいものを。
Yeah, just let him play fucking D&D with his little gaggle of friends or whatever.
こいつは高くつくぜ。
ゲストハウスに戻ろう。おじい様から電話があった際に不在だったらまずい。
Urged on by George, everyone began walking towards the guest house. At that moment, Jessica spun around and roared towards the darkness of the rose garden.
おい、誰か見てんだろ。ジジイに伝えとけ。絶対にぶち殺してやるってな。行こう。
Of course, there was no reply, only the howl of the wind and rain. The children returned to the guest house, in fear of what would be waiting for them when they got back. After they departed, from the exact point in the darkness that Jessica had yelled at, two rabbit ears sprang up. No, she just got lucky.
45がすっとろいからバレたに。竜王様に怒られる。
Again, which one? We haven't ascertained, you know, whomst in particular. There's several Pendragons kicking around.
ごめんなさい、ごめんなさい。竜王様に言いつけるのは許してください。
黙れ静かに。どうせハッタリだ。ゴーダと熊沢の監禁は確認した。任務完了。報告に戻るぞ。
イエーイイエーイ。
Neener neener.
連帯責任で人参と水だけの刑になりたいか。行くぞ。
Oh, how do we get a stomach ache? I love carrots, but raw carrots, I don't know, they do something to me. Like, slightly, like, nauseous. Like, steamed and boiled, even baked carrots is fine. But I like carrots. Like, sometimes I'll just go to the grocery store and I'll get a bag of, like, the big, like, raw carrots. And I'll just, like, munch on them. Certainly seemed to be a fact that they were being watched. Because once they returned to the cousin's room, turned the lights on, and lay down on their beds, the phone rang again. Up until now, Jessica had been answering the phone, seeing as it was her house. But now it was George, as the eldest, who picked it up. This time, Kyrie-san was on the other end of the phone. George handed it to Battler out of consideration.
もしもし
Damn, if that's the case, fucking George is never gonna get to talk on the phone.
キリエさんかそっちは大丈夫なのか
Well, unless it's Shannon, I guess.
心配をありがとう。今のところは快適よ。ごめんなさい。死後は慎めと命令されてる。
Yeah, it's not the worst, but it's not good either.
今から伝えることをよく聞いて。
The fact that they were hostages still hadn't changed, and Kinzo or one of his subordinates was probably listening to this conversation. Battler restrained the urge to talk about other things and focused on what Kyrie had to say.
テストはジェシカちゃん、ジョージ君、バトラ君、そしてマリアちゃんの順で行われるそうよ。順番に呼び出すから、それまでその部屋を出ないこと。呼び出された者は一人で指定された場所に向かうこと。
Is it like a generic challenge, or are they, like, individually designed for the, contestants, I guess in this case? Battler repeated it out loud so that his cousins would also understand.
ジェシカ、兄貴、俺、マリアの順で呼び出しがあるまで部屋にいろ。だな、分かった。マリアもなのかや。9歳の子にまで。クソジジイは何を強いる気なんだ。畜生。
後ろ宮家の命運はあなたたちに握られてるわ。
Well, that's like what the line of succession would be, so tracks. Battler noticed the strange nuance in Kyrie's words. Even without any blood connection, he could still understand thanks to the long-lasting bond they shared. Now was not the time to worry about the future of the Ushimiya family. That wasn't the message that Kyrie wanted to send. She probably meant there's no way for us to escape from this dungeon, and we can only wait to be rescued. Our lives are in your hands. Something like that.
ああ、任せてくれ。どんなテストか知らねえが上等だぜ。
As long as it's not math.
受けて立ってやら。本気のテストなんだよな。マジにやっちまっていいんだよな。
What, you're gonna fucking remove your limiters?
本気のテストよ。おじい様も本気で試すつもりでいるわ。
ダメだな。全然ダメだぜ。死にかけの老いぼれが俺と本気
Oh man, you fucking old man strength's a real thing.
寝言は棺に入ってから言いやがれ。そこにいるジジイに言っとけ。次期当主は俺だ。その最初の仕事はてめえの面に鉄拳ぶち込んでやることだってな。
Without even Kyrie having to repeat it, Battler's powerful declaration of war had reached Kinzo's ears. Like, well, at least you got some fucking spunk.
バトラー、それは実に楽しみであるぞ。一度は後ろ宮の名を捨てた男が何を身につけ、何の境地に至って我が前に現れるというのか、楽しみにしている。そう伝えよ。
Unfortunately, Kinzo's voice was not picked up by the receiver, so Kyrie spoke for him.
大いに上等だそうよ。いいバトラ君。手加減は不要よ。
Alright, a little paraphrasing, but you know.
あなたはルドルフさんの息子。いいえ、私の息子よ。誰に自慢しても恥ずかしくないところを私にも見せてちょうだい。あなたに全てを託すわ。
了解だぜ、母ちゃん。あとは任せておけ。
私たち全員は当主
And
後継ぎ
better
の
not
資格
lose,
を
otherwise it's
失
gonna
って
be
いる。
real embarrassing.
もう私たちは取られてゲーム版から外された駒も同然よ。だからあなたたちだけで戦って。
キリエさん。
The nuance of those words was, we've already given up. You can forget about us. But for that very reason, I won't give up. I'm gonna wreck this test or whatever and save everyone.
それでは
Good
一番最初
protagonist
の
lines.
ジェシカちゃんへのテストの指示よ。
Don't know if it's in your repertoire to pull it off, but
自分の部屋へ行けですって。
自分の部屋？
お屋敷のジェシカちゃんの自室って意味のよね。
ジェシカに代わる。直接伝えてやってくれ。ジェシカ。
Yeah, don't want to play a literal game of telephone here.
はい。わかりました。私からか。もう覚悟決めたぜ。行ってくるぜ。
In actuality, Jessica's probably feeling the fear of a girl her age. But she buried those feelings and strengthened her resolve.
用心してね。
私たちは監視されてんだろ。余計なこともできない。言いなりになるしかないさ。
食堂でジジイは何のためらいもなく瞬く間に6人を殺したという。それは俺たちに対しても同じかもな。
Yep.
分かってる。返り討ちにしてやるぜ。
無茶はダメだよ。危険だと思ったら自分を最優先にして。クラウスおじさんが自分のために娘が犠牲になったことを知ったら胸が張り裂けてしまうに違いないから。
逆も同じだぜ。父さんと母さんが殺されて私だけが生き残ったら。
Yeah, but that's like a parent's duty kind of thing.
私の胸だって張
He'd
り
probably
裂け
be
るぜ。
fine with it.
バトラ君、さっきの話は
あ
あ。Like, Kress, he sucks, but he's not like evil.
キリエさんたちはもう覚悟を決めている。
ならナオのこと上等だぜ。みんなの命は私たちの双剣にかかってるってことだ。人質みんなは囚われの身で何もできない。なら私たちが何とかするしかねえんだぜ。
もし何かあったらゲストハウスに逃げ戻って、その時点で僕たちがおじい様のゲームに付き合うのは終了だ。
兄貴。
その時点で僕たちは宣戦布告。どこかに閉じ込められている彼らを救い出し、おじい様には叱るべき処遇を与える。
いいのか兄貴。シャノンちゃんもいるんだろ。
だからといって僕は座して婚約者が殺されるのを待ちはしないよ。僕が恐ろしいのはおじい様にシャノンが殺されるかもしれないことに怯え、僕の婚約者に恐怖を味わわせたクソじじいよ。君らが僕より先にぶん殴っちまうことだけさ。
Alright, you're talking a lot of shit there, George. You
な
got,
るほどな。
got the stuff to back it up?
確かにこいつは次期当主が誰かを決めるってテストらしいぜ。
だな。クソじじいの顔面に一番最初に拳をお見舞いしたやつが次。
George, Battler, and Jessica each forcefully nodded their heads and put their fists together. Fuck Maria, I guess. Just off doing her own thing. Then Jessica headed off to her own room as designated. Her form disappeared into the darkness of the rose garden, which was shaking with the violent winds. As they saw her off, George and Battler hardened their trembling fists. Jessica's back was watched through the window by Maria, who had remained upstairs. Her expression was blank.
みんなは何を生きまいてるのかな。ベアトリーチェが蘇ればみんな生き返らせてもらえるのにね。
Jessica's form had already been completely swallowed up by the darkness. At that time, the phone began to ring. Battler and George heard it and came clamoring back, but Maria picked up the receiver right away.
もしもし。マリア様ですか。シャノンです。ジョージ様に代わっていただけますか。
This time, it was Shannon on the phone. And the purpose of the message was to tell the next person, George, where he was to go. Dick. Ooh, spooky. Alright, Jessica, let's see how you fall flat on your face. This goes without saying, but since the time she was born, Jessica was raised in this mansion. The Western-style house that the cousin simply called the mansion was her home. And yet, she never understood her cousin's feelings as much as she did today. And at the same time, her own home, which she knew well, never felt so different as a place as it did now. Her own room, with their weird upside-down keyholes. This had once been her personal hideaway, the only place in this vast mansion where she could feel at peace. However, the door had never felt as intimidating as it did now.
テストだって。一体何が待ち受けてやがるんだ。まさか私の机とか引っかき回してねえだろうな。
She acted tough, trying to deceive herself, trying to make herself believe that she wasn't scared of anything. She readied herself and opened the door to her room. Spoopy. When she saw that, fortunately, the room didn't appear to have been messed with, she relaxed. No one was there. Of course. There was nowhere for anyone to hide here. Right away, Jessica locked the door behind her. Now the room was safe. She peeked under the bed and in the closet, but of course, no one was hiding.
なんだってんだ。
She looked at the clock. 10 past 12, or just a little past that. As her tension lessened and fatigue came back to her entire body, she realized how messed up this whole day had been. It was still only 11. The plan had been for all the cousins to get together, have fun playing around, and talk animatedly about all kinds of things together into the night. Normally, we would have been doing that kind of thing at this very moment. Why has that turned into this?
全部あのクソジジイのせいだ。よくも母さんをみんなを。
Their head was swimming with anger and sadness. But there was no one here to direct those emotions at. Because of the lock, this room's security was guaranteed. Remembering that one more time, Jessica somehow regained her calm. If it kept up like this and nothing happens, Jessica thought that she would like to go to the dining hall and see her mother's last face. Maybe not. Considering only half of it's there. Even though Goda had emphasized so strongly that it was gruesome and that she definitely shouldn't look at it. Even so, she wanted to see her mother's face one final time. But they had been warned repeatedly that doing anything stupid would put the hostages in danger. Could it be that locking the door was also against the rules? If I close myself up in here, I alone might be saved. But if I don't open it, it will surely be against the rules, and Dad, Kanin-kun, Shannon, Aunt Kyrie, and Dr. Nanjo will be killed. There's no way this scales balance between 5 lives and my own 1 life. Jessica tightly shut her eyes, resisting the other part of herself which said, "Isn't it all right as long as I survive?" Headed to the door and made to unlock it. Just then, clap, clap, clap. A crisp applause rang out, making Jessica's heart leap. What, was that the first test?
鍵をかけたままならルール違反ということになり、人質たちにも危害が及ぶかもしれません。しかしそれでも自分の命だけはしかしあなたはその誘惑に耐え、自ら鍵を開けようとした。そのあなたの勇気は称賛に値します。
Thanks, Ronove.
誰
I, the owner of this room, had searched to make sure that there was nowhere any human could have been hiding. Where had this man? There was nowhere for a human to hide. What, could something that wasn't human have managed it? I was pretty sure that this was my first meeting with this largely built, middle-aged man. I guess he's pretty tall. Like, when I see it largely built, I think kind of like shit brick house. But I mean, Runaway is probably fit, but you know, he ain't got a lot of meat on him. I did not recognize this guy. He looked like a butler who bore the seal of the one-winged eagle.
はじめまして、ジェシカ様。私は親方様より家具頭を任されております。72柱の27位、ロの上と申します。
ロの上
No, not 上、上。
源氏さん。
ああ、源氏は私の弟のような存在。
Yeah, it's a shame he got but you
あるい
know.
はこの世界における私の正しい姿だったのかもしれません。より白だった。
Are you
と言っ
his
ても良いでしょうな。
is nobody or somebody? I don't know. I haven't played Kingdom Hearts. All I know is that like everyone has like fucking 4 different people who are also them, but not at the same time.
何を言ってんだ、こいつ。
おっと、これは失礼しました。人間には話しても理解できぬ話。それでは本題に移りましょう。
クソジジイの言うテストとかいうやつだな。
さようでございます。こちらが親方様がジェシカ様に賜われました。
At Runaway's elegant gesture, like that of a butler ordering for the meal to be set out, many gold butterflies flew up out of nowhere. Yeah, gross. The swarm of gold butterflies spun around, forming a small swirl as they gathered in one place. Then, the gold mound disappeared like a pile of leaves blown away by a cold, wintry wind. And there lay a western envelope with the one-winged eagle crest done on it in gold leaf. Renove gestured to her to pick it up. Jessica timidly picked it up and opened the letter inside.
なんだこれ。
It's the test.
非常にシンプルな次期当主の資格を探るテストでございます。そこに記されている問いに、どうか後ろ宮家を担う次期当主としての心構えで臨んでいただき、答えとそれに至ったお考えをお聞かせください。
Oh, that's easy. I was expecting some like Legend of the Hidden Temple shit. Shaking, Jessica looked back and forth between the paper and Runaways face several times. At that time, George, who had been called out after Jessica, could be seen in the arbor of the Rose Garden. They'd been planning to give Shannon the ring that would be proof of their engagement here, tonight, at this time, if things had gone normally. But the woman in front of George was not Shannon.
読みなさい。それがゴールドスミスからあなたに与えられるテストよ。
I mean, George is kind of like he came in. He might be your type if like he loses the glasses and gets a better haircut. Like, go to a barber, my guy. You look fucking ridiculous. Your mom do your hair? Dude looks like he's fucking ready to go to church. George picked up the western envelope on the table where he had once drunk tea with Shannon and read its contents. Perhaps its message was short. After a single glance at it, George's eyes grew sharp.
なんだいこれは。
見ての通りよ。それがあなたに与えられる次期当主の資格を探るテスト。次期当主としての資格を自らに問いながら、その問いに答えなさい。
なんてバカな問題だ。
そうね。
It's like a fucking college entrance exam paper where you gotta write down like why you want to go to this school.
本当にバカな問題ね。なら、ゴールドスミスにとっての後ろ宮家の家督なんて、その程度のものなんじゃない？
Kinda. George lowered his eyes to the surface of the letter once again and examined its contents. George and Jessica. While the tests given to them were slightly different, they were almost exactly the same.
以下に掲げる3つのうち
Oh, do you have to pick one?
2つを得るために
Yep.
1つを生贄に捧げよ
う。簡単な3択じゃない？どれを見殺しに選ぶか自ら決めなさい。選択を拒めばテストは中断。私の手であなたをこの場で殺してしまってもいいって許可をもらってるわ。
Well,
それさえも選択肢に含めるなら4択ね。私君みたいなこと遊ぶのは随分久しぶりだからそれも嫌いじゃないわよ。
この3択はあくまでもテストなのか、それとも選択は結果を伴うのか。
何を甘えてるの？君が選択したものは必ず命を落とす。
Among the 3 mentioned below, in order to gain 2, sacrifice 1. 1. Your life. 2. Shannon's life. 3. Everyone else's lives. Oof! If you do not choose one, all of the above will be lost.
どうしてシャノンの名がここにあるんだ？
Because it's the most dramatic.
2番目の選択肢にはそのものが最も必要とする愛する者の名が。ジェシカへのテストの2番にはカノンって書かれているはずだわ。
このバカな問題をジェシカにも出したのかい？
Yeah.
ジェシカのことなんかどうでもいいでしょ。今試されているのはあなたよ。
I don't think George has the guts to be, super selfish and just choose everyone else.
実に簡単な3択だわ。他の2つのために
Also, don't think he has it in him to pick Shannon either.
簡単でしょ。それでも決まらないならコインでも貸してあげようかしら。
You got a 3-sided coin?
コイン2面しかないものでどうやって3択を？
自分の命を捨てられる者がいるわけがない。
Well, really, it's one of those things where flipping a coin can help you. You just don't look at the results. It's just you toss it up in the air and you like whatever the ones that like jumps through your head, like, oh man, I hope it's this. That's the one you go with.
となればおのずと残る選択肢は2つになる。愛する者のために全ての人間を諦めるか、一人でも多くを救うために愛する者一人を諦めるか。
What is this fucking Fate Zero question?
どっちにももっともらしい大義名分がつけられるわ。だって今やこの六軒島は悪魔の島ですもの。人間の世界の甘ったるい馴れ合いなんて必要ないの。誰も責めないわ。あなたの心の赴くままに。後ろ宮家の家督を継ぐにふさわしい資格が自らにあるかを問いながら、いいえ、自らが後ろ宮家当主であると思って選択なさい。
Well, if you were like Kinzo, everyone else, fucking see you later. Gonna go hang out with Beatrice.
にしやがって。
Just crumpled the letter up and threw it on the floor.
お怒りはごもっともと思いますよ。私も非常にお気の毒で、それでいて実に滑稽な出題だと思います。
自分から死にたいと願う人間なんているもんか。そして愛する人の命を見捨てて生き残りたいと思う人間なんているもんか。そして自分たちだけ良ければ他の人間全てを見殺しにできる人間なんているもんか。
いいえ、ジェシカ様。
The head of the Ushimiya family could.
いても良いのでございます。ここは六軒島、悪魔の島。今や人間の世界から完全に切り取られ、魔界にどっぷり
Cheese fondue.
チーズフォンデュのように沈んでおります。
That threw me for a loop.
人の世の価値観など次の燃えないゴミの日に
Kind
出
of
して
immediately
しま
took
い
me
ま
out of
す。
the moment. What an odd metaphor to make. Or analogy.
ですからどうか ジェシカ様が心より欲するものを順にお選びください。その結果残ったものがこの狂った今宵にふさわしきジェシカ様の回答となりましょう。
ふざけるな！こんなのどれも選べるものか
Calm
よ。
down, you're gonna have an asthma attack.
いずれも選ばねば蒸気のすべてを失う。
Can we write in an answer?
立派な
Option
第
D?
4の選択肢でございます。それを選ばれるのもまた
Or
一
option
興でござ
E
い
in
ましょ
this
う。
case? If option D is do nothing and die?
ただそれを選び結局自らの命を落とされるなら潔く一番の自分の命を選び他の二つを救われた方が賢明かと思います。すべてはジェシカ様の選択に委ねられます。どうぞ後ろ宮家の跡継ぎにふさわしい回答とその信念をお聞かせくださいませ。この炉の上親方様の血を引きし末裔にふさわしき素晴らしい回答を心より期待いたしております。
くしょ
Yep, rack your brain. That scene was being observed through a magic crystal ball being held by Kinzo. Kinzo finally couldn't hold it back. Spreading his arms and facing the heavens, he began laughing in an explosive voice. Yeah, what a knee slapper.
何を迷うか愚かなる孫たちよ、我が末裔たちよ。即答できる簡単な問題ではないか。
Yeah, fuck everyone else.
朝のトーストにバターを塗るかジャムを塗るかより迷わぬ選択であるというのに。お前たちには正しい答えがわかるか？
He turned and stared wide-eyed at the Chiester sisters, who had been faithfully standing in wait behind him.
申し訳ございません。私にはわかりません。ゴールドスミス卿。
愚か者め、選べもせぬとはな。ゲームオーバー。自らの生きる理由も目的も見出せん愚かなウサギめ。貴様など誰にも気づかれずに踏みつぶされて生を終えるアリ一匹ほどの価値もないわ。死ね、潰れろ。私が瞬きしている間に消えてなくなれ。
Damn, fucking wrecked.
お前はどうか。
私は一番の自分の命を生贄とするであります。
You fool! What's the point of being the head if you
ブ
die?
グは戦い知ってこそであります。そしてブグは敵を打ち滅ぼし味方を守るためにある。愛する者たちを守って死ねるなら本望であります。
ほう、ブグらしい実に見事な模範回答よ。
Honorable choice, but stupid.
即答、大いに結構。そう答えれば人参が一本余計にもらえると教えられてきたのか。違うよな。それすらも違うよな。そう聞かれたらそう答えようと、お前はただ吹き込まれた通りに答えたに過ぎない。お前も今のウサギと同じだ。自分の生きる理由と目的を未だに見出せずに生きている。生きる価値なきクズめ。貴様など潰されて他の家畜の餌にでもなるのがお似合いよ。
Beat him to the pigs.
はっ、家畜の餌光栄であります。
Yeah, getting a little hot and bothered.
違うだろう。もう誰も死ぬところを見たくないんだろう。それがなぜ認められぬのか。認めろよ。お前の古傷の奥の奥が未だに産んで腐っていることを。不臭にて鼻が曲がりそうであるわ。愚かなる腐れウサギめ。
You're not a very good therapist,
お
Kenzo.
前にはこれが褒め言葉である。
ありがとうございます。であります。
さて、最後のお前はどうか。 この3択から何を選ぶ？
にひ迷うことなく当然2番であります。
No, you fool!
ほう、2番か。愛する者を生贄に捧げることを胸を張って選べる者は多くない。訳を聞かせよ。
愛する者はいつかいなくなるからです。愛する者がいなければ傷つかないし、いなくてもいつかまた誰かを愛せるかもしれない。
Okay, so like the wild animal in nature approach.
だから今愛してる者なんて大した価値はない
Eat your own
で
kid to
す。
survive. You can have more kids later.
にひ
なるほど。それでそういう回答になるわけか。愛に傷ついたがゆえに臆病になったウサギよ。ウサギは寂しさで死ぬと聞いたが、お前の心は一体いつ殺されたというのか。ならばウサギよ、問いを変えよう。2番の選択肢を愛するものではなく、そなたが愛したものの思い出に変えようではないか。どうかこれでももう一度選べるか。何が愛してるものに大した価値はないだ、愚かなウサギよ。自らの愛の深さにも向かい合えぬクズめ。選んでみよ。愛したものを忘れられると選んでみや。
Sure, gotta move on.
選べるだろう。選べるものな。ほら、選べるって言ってみろよ。
選べるであります。
You sure about that?
選べるであり
You're
ます。
looking a little blue.
Gold Smith 卿
So damn fucking breakup was that bad, huh? Jeez.
それくらいでどうかお許しを。
もうよいわ、クズウサギどもめ。お前たちはワルギリアのところへ行き、地下牢の見張りを手伝うのだ。
Yeah, it's more of a hindrance to have you around. Go be somewhere else. The Chester sisters, their old emotional wounds gouged, disappeared as though running away. After that, even though there was no one left to hear him, Kinzo continued talking as though continuing a play.
と、このように愉快なテストなわけだ。実のところを言えば、これが正解という選択肢はない。むしろどの答えであろうともよどみなく素早く、そして確固たる信念と揺るがぬ強き自らの意志で選べるかどうか、その理由と意志の方が重要なのだ。私はそれを知りたいのだよ。ああ、我が末裔たちよ。お前たちはどのような答えを見せてくれるのか、実に楽しみだ。私か
It's pretty self-evident.
ああ、もちろん同じ問いを突きつけられたことがあったとも。
And we can see your choice in action right
そ
now.
の悪魔の問いに見事答えたからこそ、私は黄金と名誉とあの魔女を我が物とすることができたのだよ。私が選んだ答えは言うまでもないよな。
Damn, Kinzo, maybe you should have gone into theater.
さて、そろそろ答えは決まりましたでしょうか。
As Jessica stared at the crushed letter that lay on the floor, she hung her head in constant silence. All that filled the room was the sound of the wind and rain and the rustling of the treetops. Regardless of how noisy that was, it simply made the silence more apparent. Ronove waited for Jessica's answer. However, Jessica didn't speak. Whether she was deep in thought or had stopped thinking, Ronove couldn't tell. No, he might actually have known. But, cruelly like a demon, Ronove urged Jessica to voice it.
どれも選べない
Yep,
と
because
いう
once you say it,
な
it becomes real. You can't take it back anymore.
そのお命、せめて痛みがないよう安らかに頂戴させていただきますが。
せよ。
What?
はい、聞こえかねました。もう一度
Yeah, don't
お
mumble.
願いできますかね。
Speak from your diaphragm. Jessica lifted her face and looked straight into Runave's eyes. It seemed that she decided on her answer.
殺せよ。
Jessica said it one more time, clearly. Perhaps Runaway had imagined from the very beginning that this would be the answer. Without any surprise, he smiled lightly and nodded.
ジェシカ様ならそのお答えを選ぶと思っておりました。さて、このテストはどの選択肢が正解、不正解というものではありません。重要なのはどのような考えを経てその答えに至ったかという部分です。さあ、
Yep.
ジェシカ様、
Explain your answer.
そして次期当主としての心構えを持ってそれをお答えください。
別に死にたくて1番目を選んだわけじゃないさ。2番の
You just don't have the guts
カノ
to
ン君
become
を死
the
なせるこ
monster.
と。こんなのもちろん論外。だから除外。3番のその他みんなの命。こんなのももちろん論外。だから除外。そしたら1番目の選択肢しか残らなかった。
消去法ですか。積極的にお選びになったわけではないと。
Because there was no other choice. Wrong answer. After chuckling lightly, Renove dropped his gaze. The human couldn't even imagine what kind of answer a demon would have been hoping for. All she could understand was that this was apparently slightly below Renove's expectations.
悪くはありませんが、良くもない回答です。60点というところでしょうか。
Depending on how you're grading, that's a fail.
少し失望しましたよ。
自信を持って選べみたいなこと言っておいて、そうしてやったら失望とは自分勝手な野郎だぜ。
消去法というだけではないようですね。いずれにせよ落第点ですが、もう少しお考えがあるようだ。伺いましょう。
死にたくないさ。だから1番なんて誰だって選びたくない。
Again, false.
人は
That's not true.
幸せに生きたくて生の限りをあがいてるんだぜ。
Couple times.
だから本当はまず1番目なんてありえないはずなんだ。
You know, if you hit the water from a high enough height, you know, one of the interesting things about fluid dynamics is that it doesn't compress. So you can actually just completely cave in the back of your head if you, like, land on your back. Like, completely smashing your skull to the point where they have to fold the, like, skin on your forehead and, like, pin it to the back of your skull. Otherwise, there's, like, nothing for it to, like, keep your fucking face on. Usually they do closed casket for those. But someone still needs to get their uniform looking good.
しかし、あなたは1番目の選択肢。自分の命を捨てることを選んだ。その選択肢しか残らなかった。
一応、それぞれの選択肢を選んだ後の未来のことを考えてみたぜ。
ほう、いかがでしたか？
まず、
You'd be miserable in all of them.
カノン君を死なせてみた。
Except the one he died, because, you know, you're dead. You can't feel anymore.
私は自分の大好きな人を見捨ててまで生きる残りの生涯を想像してみた。
それはどんな生涯でしたか？
生きるにも値しない最低の女だった。いつまでも自らの選択を悔やみ、ただ後悔だけのために生きるみすぼらしい女だった。大好きな人を見捨てて生きることを選んだ最低の女なんて私には許せない。私が自ら引導を渡してやる。
勇ましい。では 3番目の選択肢も考えられたのでは？
Essentially the same thing.
私とカノン君以外の全員を死なせても見た。カノン君はそんな私を好きになるはずはない。
I mean, maybe? Canon seems a bit of a, you know, utilitarian. He'd probably be maybe not okay with it, but he'd at least understand it?
そして私もまた、いくらカノン君がいても、そのために見捨てた大勢の命が生涯十字架となってのしかかってきた。そしてその十字架は
Yeah, the math doesn't
カ
balance
ノン
out.
君にまでのしかかった。私はカノン君に十字架を背負わせるために愚かな選択肢を選んだりはしない。もしそんなことをする私がいたなら、私はその未来の私を許さない。
Ooh, don't go digging too deep into the shards.
その女にも
Or the fragments or whatever.
私が引導を渡してやる。
Jessica had pictured it in her mind. The future her beyond each of the three choices. There were three Jessicas. Of the three, two had regrets. Only one could hold her head high and smile at Canon.
私さ、生意気にもカノン君に説教したことがあるぜ。自分の人生を思い切り生きてみろみたいなことを。
自分の人生を思い切り生きる。味わいある言葉ですね。それは意外にとても難しいものです。
だからさ、私が胸を張ってカノン君に見せなきゃならないんだよ。胸を張ってお天道様を真正面から見て、思い切り笑顔でいられる生き方ってやつを。
あなたの自己犠牲をカノンは受け入れられるでしょうか。あなたの身勝手な選択が余計に彼を傷つけてしまうことには思いが至りませんか。
But at least he'll have the chance to move on.
だから
Come to terms with it.
伝言を頼みたい。
ほう、お聞きはしますが、何しろ私は悪魔です。約束は守らないかもしれませんよ。
守って約束。
Jessica spoke that looking quite unconcerned. She had asked the demon who was about to take her life to pass on a message, and she wasn't thinking for a moment that she would be betrayed. At that extremely innocent smile, Ornave closed his eyes lightly and shrugged his shoulders.
いいでしょう。それで彼に何と伝えればよろしいですか。
カノン君の思いっきりの人生を生きて。ちょっと違う。カノン君のじゃない。本当の名前は未だに教えてもらえないけど、
He forgore.
本当のカノン君の人
Also
生を
brutal. They got it on
思いっ
speakerphone.
きり
Oof.
生きて。そう伝えて。
お嬢様。
ジェシカ、お前というやつを。
炉の上は気まぐれですから伝言をしなかった可能性もありました。
Pull some strings.
幸運でしたね。私がこの光景を見せていて。
A musty, three-sided mirror was set beyond the bars, and the scene with Jessica was reflected on it. Three-sided mirror, like one of those like makeup, like cabinet, fucking desk things. On the next mirror, the scene with George was reflected in the same way. None of them questioned how a three-sided mirror had appeared from a group of butterflies, or why Jessica and George were reflected on it. Because the reflected sights themselves were more important.
そこまでこいつのために命をも投げ出せるというのか。
申し訳ありません。
Kraus looked at Cannon with a complicated expression that had an awkward smile mixed in. Cannon couldn't meet his eyes.
ワルギリア様、お嬢様が命を落とされることはありません。僕を殺してください。
No, this isn't like some weird biblical moral story.
2番目
Where,
の選択肢
you made the quote-unquote correct choice, so you get all of the above. Well, all of the above in this case would be everyone dies, but the opposite of all of the above.
それで
全ては丸く収まるはずです。
その願いを私に叶えることはできませんよ。これはジェシカの選んだ自らの選択なのですから。
Suddenly, the air split, and the Chester sisters appeared, flying into Virgilia's chest. Yeah, Kinzo was so mean.
私だって頑張ってるのであります。潰して家畜の餌とかあんまりであります。
I don't know all the details, but you guys probably deserve it. So without a clue what was going on, Virgilia was smothered by the sobbing Chester sisters.
はいはい、大丈夫ですよ、大丈夫ですよ。
Getting snot all over her nice black dress.
美味しいお紅茶を入れてあげますからね。お前たち、ここの見張りを任せます。不審な真似をしたらすぐに知らせるのですよ。
The goat attendants all looked at each other and nodded their heads. Virgilia took the Chester sisters and left. The sound of people going up a set of stairs could be heard, so they had probably gone to an upper floor.
チャンスだわ。このヤギ頭どもは頭が悪いみたい。
Wow, rude?
うまく騙せないかしら。
But also probably. Kyrie realized an opportunity had arrived, but she still hadn't thought of a way to break the metal bars. And, there's no and there. The Jessica reflected on the three-sided mirror closed her eyes, as though she had given up. The way she had both her hands stuck into her pockets, wanting to be defiant until the very end, might have been her own kind of aesthetics.
私の言い分は以上だ。殺せよ。
わかりました。それでは。ご安心を。あなたへの死は、どんな眠りよりも優しく、慈悲深いものにいたしますよ。
You gonna pull the same trick Genji did? Renove raised his palm, and as he slowly approached Jessica. Realizing that his daughter would be killed, Kraus repeatedly body-slammed the metal bars, going half mad. Goats looked like they were sneering at how a mere human didn't stand a chance at breaking those bars. And true, Kraus's pointless effort might have been comical, but Kraus was giving it everything he had. As Jessica's father, he was living in that moment with everything he had so that he could save her. Ganon made a tight fist with both hands. If he used his cursed powers, he might be able to cut through the even metal bars. But there were a full 3 goats. There was no way he could defeat 3 of them in an instant. It would instantly be reported, and then Virgilia and even the Chester sisters would dash in. Though he may be able to break the bars, he could do nothing more. It was useless. Ganon knew already that the witch was sneering at that kind of useless effort. So he could do nothing but stare at Kraus's repeated body slams. Shannon, who had been looking at the 3-sided mirror, let out a voice. They looked to see that George, who had been silent this whole time, had raised his head. It seemed that George had also decided on an answer.
決まった？君の答え。
ああ、決まったよ。
それは揺るぎない答え？
ああ、揺るぎないね。
なら聞かせてもらうわ。ああ、ちなみにジェシカはどうも自分の命を差し出すことを選んだようよ。まさか優柔不断な君も同じ答えを選んだって言うんじゃないでしょうね。
Oh, hush.
ジェシカはジェシカの答えを出したのさ。それがどの選択であろうとも、それはジェシカの答えだ。僕の答えに何も干渉しないよ。
そうなら改めて聞くわ。以下に掲げる3つのうち2つを得るために1つを生贄に捧げよ。1、自分の命。2、シャノンの命。3、それ以外の全員の命。 あなたが選んだのはどれ？
You really think George has it in him to pick 2 or 3?
まさかジェシカと同じ1番？
違うね。
へえ。
Really now? Cap looked a little surprised. Guess she had thought that a timid-looking man like this would never choose any other option.
ならよかったわ。私にとって一番退屈な選択肢が外れてくれてよかった。じゃあまさかとは思うけど2番シャノンの命を見捨ててみせる？
まさか今夜まさに婚約指輪を贈ろうという相手をどうして僕が？
これは大胆だわ。それが君の答えなの。
そうさ。
Well,
僕の答えは
didn't think you had the guts.
3番さ。
George had chosen the third choice. Everyone else's lives. Even Gap hadn't been able to imagine that answer. She had been sure that he'd choose number 1, just like Jessica. So she'd become interested in how he reached the answer. How had he reached an answer that had defied the imagination of the 33rd ranked demon of the 72?
聞かせてほしいわ。自分と愛する婚約者だけが無事で、それ以外の全てを犠牲にできる境地というのを聞かせてほしいわ。あなたもジェシカと同じで消去法というやつ？
違うね。
Well, good on you at least for being able to be selfish.
はっきりこれしか僕には選択肢がないのさ。
自分さえ良ければいいと？
I don't know what you mean by that, but sure.
愛する女と引き換えに世界を犠牲にできると？
君は何を言っているんだい？
He's not sacrificing the world, just a couple people.
何？
George faced the demon as he spoke, looking at her almost in disbelief.
僕は今夜ここにシャノンを呼び出し、婚約の証である指輪を渡すつもりだった。僕とシャノンの婚約を祝福しない者もきっと多いだろう。僕は彼女との婚約を宣言することで親族すべてを敵に回すと僕にはあるんだよ。この島に訪れたその時から。いや違う。
Yeah, a little bit before.
彼女に婚約したいと打ち明けたその時からね。
結婚さえできれば他の何もかも犠牲にできると？
結婚とは自分は生涯妻の味方であり続けるということだ。僕にはその時点で彼女のために世界の全てを敵に回す覚悟があるんだ。
Alright, cool. I'm sure everyone else down here might be pulling their collars a little bit, but yeah, I can at least respect it. Those words, through the 3-sided mirrors, also reached Shannon's ears, and his determination reached her eyes. Shannon had certainly had arranged with George that tonight she would be given an engagement ring. Then this incident had occurred. My cadence on that was weird, and she hadn't been able to receive the ring. But now, even though it wasn't in the form of a ring, Shannon had received something even greater. And as proof of that, a single tear with the same sparkle as a diamond dripped down.
それは何とも振るった答えだことね。なるほど。よく考えたら君にこれは気楽な選択肢だわ。だって君の両親は第一の晩にすでに殺されちゃってるんだもんね。今さら君にとって死んで困る人間は誰もいない。なるほどね。これは簡単な選択だったわ。
何とでも言うがいい。これが僕の、そして僕の次期当主としての覚悟と選択だ。
The sparkle in George's eyes was brilliant and sharp. For just an instant, Gap felt the same sense of intimidation that Kinzo exuded and was slightly overpowered.
なるほど。ゴールドスミスと同じ答え。君もあどけなさそうな顔して将来はとんだ悪魔になるわけね。なんだ、私たちとてもうまくやれそうじゃない。
Yeah, no mistresses.
君がゴールドスミスの後を継ぐ。そしてやがては私は召喚され、君に仕えることもあるかもしれない。それも案外面白いかもしれないわね。
Gap needed to change her opinion of George. This man bore determination or resolve unimaginable from his outward appearance, and had not adopted that just now, but had possessed it since the very beginning.
僕には今すぐ闘志を継承する覚悟がある。
Yeah, hey, get Kinzo out of here.
いや違うね。君はこのテストを闘志として考えろと言った。だから僕は自分が闘志であると前提して答えたんだ。いや、それすら違う。
Yeah, it's just what you
闘志
wanted.
そのものとして考えた。僕は今後宮家の当主なんだ。
見事だわ。そこまで言えるなんてね。君はどうやらかなりの大物だわ。
So, Kinzo, how do you feel about that answer?
バトラとマリアのテストはまだだけど、私は君が合格でいい気がする。でもその答えがかけねなしの本当のものならね。
僕の覚悟を疑うというのか。
君が選んだ選択肢を実行できる？今すぐ自らの手
Get your hands dirty?
この島に存在する全ての命を生贄に捧げることができる。自らの手でよ。
できるね。その覚悟はある。
Oh, that's a face.
僕は何度も言っている。
ならば今すぐゲストハウスに戻り、バトラとマリアを殺しなさい。それが終わったら他の人質たちを連
Mario
れ
will
て
be
きて
easy.
あげる。
Children have soft bones. They're easy to break.
君の手でシャノン以外の全員をその目の前で処刑してみせるのよ。できるんでしょ？
できるね。僕の覚悟は君程度のそれとはレベルが違う。
ならば実行しなさい。
Yep, chop chop.
全てに死を。新しき後宮家の当主としてこの血塗られた儀式の遂行を。
了解したよ。実行する。僕は今やもう後宮家の当主だ。
ええ。
Hell yeah, go
そ
do
う
it,
よ。
George.
自らの手でその玉座を赤く染めなさい。君は悪魔たちを滑る魔界の王となる。
Gap was now sure. This man was truly fitting to succeed Kinzo's madness.
吹けよ嵐、鳴らせよ雷鳴。新しき魔王の誕生を祝うがいい。悪魔の島は今新しい王を迎えた。
Ooh, pachi pachi pachi. In response to the demon's call, the tempest raged more and more. Then, a massive lightning bolt fell. Its tearing thunder and brilliant light creating a feeling of just a moment of silence.
でさ、その殺害の順番だけど、僕が決めていいわけだよね。
どうぞご自由に。新しき六軒島の魔王陛下、あなたの御心の赴くままに。
とりあえずさ、その一番目が君になるわけだけどいいかな。
え？
I guess the wind blew, stirring up George's jacket as though it was a cloak. It's very much like the cloak worn by the head. Definitely gave the same impression of grandeur. At that time, Gap certainly saw the storm wiped away and the sky covered with a pure white and vast full moon. Bearing the full moon on his back, the man who called himself the new head sneered at the demon.
後宮家親族のすべての命さえも今や僕の財産だ。
That includes the furniture.
それに損害を出してくれた
This
賠
house comes
償
furnished.
安くは済まないよ。まさか僕の両親に夏日おばさん、ルドルフおじさん、ローザおばさん、そして源氏さんの命を奪っておいて、この僕が見逃すと本気で思ってるのか
Good for
い。
you, George.
ほほ生意気よ。
Ronave had been intending to press his palm against Jessica's chest and stop her heart. But a short distance away, his hands had stopped. On the carpet at their feet, plop plop, small red flowers bloomed one after another. The seeds of these flowers had fallen down from high, high above, all the way from Jessica's fist, held up as though to strike the heavens. Ronave's nose was stained red, with spurting blood. And those drops were dripping onto the carpet.
ちなみに、さっきのは乙女としての回答な。次期当主としての回答は別だぜ。
お伺いします。
大好きな人も、家族も、親族もみんな私が守る。私が当主なら、それは私の責務だ。お父さんは威張ってるだけじゃない。私や母さんを守ってた。後ろ宮家を受け継ぐ重圧ってやつと何十年も戦ってた。
Oh, you. Looks like fucking morals skipped a generation.
だからわかるぜ。
Well, a couple.
次期当主
Kinzo didn't got any to fucking begin with.
軽くねえんだよ。だからさ、捨てられるんだよ。自分の命くらい。
Jessica knew. She knew that her father, in order to protect his family, was even now bluffing and fighting a solitary fight. Jessica understood something that his back had been telling her. Another left straight was buried in Ronave's face. That mighty strike wasn't due just to the brass knuckles she was wearing. It was a strike of a person, a family head, who would throw away everything in order to protect.
父さんが次期当主の資格を失ったなら、順当に次の当主は
So where did he
私
get
が継
fucking
承する
brass
ぜ。
knucks?
後ろ宮家当主。
School you go to isn't that bad.
後ろ宮ジェシカ。これ以上好きにさせるほどふぬけちゃいねえぜ。
素晴らしい回答です。先ほどの点数を改めましょう。その回答に10点プラス。
That's pass.
見事な左ストレートに10。
ってことは、あと20点プラスで100点満点だな。
Ronave backflipped away from her and violently wiped away the blood pouring from his nose. It had become not blood, but petals of a red rose. The blood on his face was wiped away. In its place was a grin from a great delight, which he had last felt so many centuries ago that he could no longer remember just how long it had been.
ジェシカ様の覚悟、何点に値するかどうか、この炉の上、試させていただきますよ。
うぜえぜ、かかってきやがれ。
おいで、奈落へ。
Beneath George's feet, a pitch-black pit suddenly opened its mouth wide. Of course, George had no way of resisting. After being swallowed up by it, George fell out of a pitch-black hole that had been opened up in the ceiling of the arbor. As George fell down, he was hit sharply in the gut, like a precision bee strike, by a reverse roundhouse kick from a silhouette? Heel. The pointy ones. Launched out of the arbor, the instant George thought that he was about to be swallowed up by a rose bush. Another pitch-black hole opened there and swallowed George up. And this time, a pitch-black hole opened in front of Gap at her feet, spitting a defenseless George out of it. By that time, Gap had already finished the preparatory motions for the next reverse roundhouse kick. Also, getting kicked with her heel, that would suck. Her shoes got like a little point at the fucking end of the heel, don't they? Which is very Gap. Yeah, ooh, ouch! Right side of the head, below the right armpit, right side of the knee. As Gap danced and spun like a small cyclone, she kept hitting him, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot with successive roundhouse kicks. The fourth one became a sweep, cutting George's feet out from under him and making him fall below. But of course, there was no floor there, but a pitch-black hole, and George was swallowed up once again. Gap once again spun around like a small cyclone. George, likewise, was once again spat out from the ceiling of the arbor.
食らって噛み締めなさい。奈落の終点が一撃。死ね！
You thinking with portals, George? The sharp strike of the queen bee pierced the heavens like a rising cyclone. It kicked right through George's abdomen as he fell from the ceiling. Then, time froze. George was pinned in midair by Gap's raised leg. Oh, the hit stun. Still pinned in midair, George moaned. Then Gap, with George still hung up on her foot, grinned.
認めてあげる。君の態度だけは一人前よ。
Yeah, but you didn't have the moves to back it up.
でも、
Yeah.
力が伴わなきゃダメだわ。知ってる？この世を滑るには3つの力が必要だそうよ。1つは権力、1つは財力、最後は何か知ってる？
本で読んだよ。暴力だろ。
Yep.
正解。
Doesn't matter, you're right, if you don't got the oomph to back it up, you know, you'll just get pushed over.
君にはそれが足りないわ。
Gap finally released George by kicking him upward one more time, adding in another roundhouse kick and smashing him into a pillar.
権力を伴わない王者にも、財力を伴わない王者にも、そして暴力を伴わない王者にも、人は金蔵はその3つを兼ね備えたわ。だからこそ暴君として君臨した。君も金蔵の後継者を名乗るならば、その貫禄を見せてごらんなさい。ほら、いつまで寝ているの？立ちなさい。じゃないとまた落ちるわよ。
悪くない動きですよ。しかし、レディーには少々ふさわしくない。
She goes to a public school.
いやー、ひょろひょろと、ちょっこまかと反撃してこねえのかよ。なめてんのか、うぜえやつ。
Renove was dodging skillfully, jumping back and avoiding Jessica's fists. But he still wasn't striking back himself. Because of his agile movements, as swift as a flag whipping about in a strong winds, Jessica's fists weren't even able to touch him. Amidst a feeling of her blood running hot, Jessica regained her offensive composure. Even though this room was large for a bedroom, it was too small an area to keep up such exaggerated dodges for long. She calmly realized that, and started using not just her fist, but her legs as well. Yeah, learn to use your legs. If you haven't noticed, your leg muscles are fucking gigantic compared to your arms. Sure, with like a good punch, you get like your back into it and like rotational movement and whatnot. But still, your fucking thigh, it's like one of your biggest muscles.
そして足は冷たく獲物を狙って追い詰める蛇のように。
蛇に足はねえぜ。
確かに。
Jessica began cornering Renove towards the wall with perfect footwork. She wouldn't let him get around her. Renove's magnificent dodges looked flashy, but they needed significant room. Once cornered, he wouldn't be able to dodge anymore. Jessica had a good understanding of this special characteristic of her equipped weapons, the brass knuckles. This powerful weapon's most notable characteristic was how it didn't let the opponent defend. Even if they blocked with their arm, that arm would receive direct damage. If it hit the wrong way, it might even break the bone. So she pressed him forward. She would block his escape routes, and then with this fist, she would clip this demon down. Chip.
おや、いつも
You can also just deflect your blows, though.
ようやく追い詰めたぜ。
Just parry.
みんなを捕らえている場所はどこだ。クソジジイのいる場所はどこだ。洗いざらい喋ったらそのヒゲをむしり取るだけで勘弁してやるぜ。
That would hurt.
それは
Rubbing my
困
own
ります
mustache.
これでもセットに毎朝1時間をかけているのですから。
I'd believe it. No, it's real hard to like properly like style a mustache because the hair's so coarse and thick. You need to like get special oils in order to get the hair bendable, and then if you actually want to style it, you need to get like special wax, which I don't use. I just comb it and then just have like a walrus mustache for the rest of the day once once it sets back down into its normal position.
キブスの世話になったらそれもできねえな。
おっ
Renove had blocked Jessica's lunging fist with his arm. He tried to act as though it was no big deal. It must have hurt a lot. Jessica grinned. Renove smiled the same way, but twitched slightly.
なるほど。これは確かに痛いですね。
最終勧告。泣いて詫びろ。
それはできませんね。キャラが崩れます。
ならお前が崩れ落ちるといいぜ。鶴瓶打ちだー。
Jessica's iron fists were pounded in Renove. But Jessica was startled. The impact felt wrong, and there was the sound of breaking glass. At a glance, it looked like Renove had caught Jessica's fist with his palm. But that wasn't quite true. When Renove opened his hand, a faint purple glowing barrier like a glass shield appeared there, stopping the attack by a hair's breadth. Pulling herself together, Jessica stuck out her fists again, but with truly magnificent movements, Renove caught them all.
悪魔ですので。
Yeah, it's not gonna be a fair fight.
この程度の魔法くらいは。それにしてもなかなかやりますね。人間だったら私はここで降参だったでしょう。悪魔だからまだ戦い続けることができる。
おかしな真似を。
それで終わりですか。攻撃を繰り出すばかりでご自身の防御がおろそかではありませんか。
Best defense is good offense. Renove pounded his palm into Jessica's stomach, stopping abruptly just a fraction away. Jessica was repelled by the purple shield, tumbled backwards, and smashed her head on the bed.
人間ごときに私のシールドは破れませんよ。もう二度と私の体に触れることができると思わぬことです。
ならよ、そのシールドごとぶち抜いてやるぜ。
不屈な方だ。その根性。なるほど。次期当主として実にふさわしい。もう少しお相手させていただきましょうかね。これも試験官の役得です。
Don't have too much fun. Don't forget you're on the clock.
砕けろー。
Gap looked down on George, sneering. He was lying face down in a puddle on the rose garden path. The merciless rain beat down on him, so it looked as though even the heavens were mocking him.
立ちなさい。また落ちるわよ。
George stood up shakily. It seemed his spirit hadn't given in, but the damage to his body was fairly significant.
命乞いなさい。君のしていることは何も選ばない4番目の選択肢に同じ。君が選んだのは3番目の選択肢でしょ。両手両膝をついて詫びれば私への比例を許してあげるわ。そしたら君を地下牢へ案内してあげる。そこで君は愛するシャノンと非力な自分のために他の人質たちを一人ずつ殺していくの。
Wonderful Serbian marriage tradition.
できるわよね。その覚悟はあると。君は豪語したわ。
George didn't answer, but his gaze was still obstinately resisting surrender.
あまり強情が過ぎると、今度こそ奈落の底の底まで。
Gap's strength was undeniable. There's no doubt that Shannon's group, watching through the three-sided mirror, understood that, probably even more clearly than George himself.
庄司様、もうやめて。私なんかのために。
姉さ
ん。私のことなんて好きにならなければ、ジョージ様は誰とも戦わなくていいんでしょ。
Don't forget, Shannon, this is all your fault for breaking the mirror.
私なんて捨ててください。忘れてください。
There's no way for that voice to reach George. But, even so, George answered.
嫌だね。僕は屈服しない。
へえ、どうして？
それが僕の覚悟だからだ。僕はシャノンのために全てと戦う。そして全てに認めさせ、全てに僕たちを祝福させる。
ねえ、聞かせて。どうしてあのシャノンとかいう家具のためにそこまで言えるの？あんなのただの出来損ないじゃない。球児一つ満足にできないガラクタ家具だわ。
愛する女性への暴言を僕はそれ以上許さない。
だったら何？ひ弱な僕ちゃんが私にどう抗うというのかしら。
人を愛するとは強さだ。それを知ったから僕は強くなれた。
It's magic.
シャノン、僕は君を愛している。その言葉だけで僕は何度でも立ち上がれるんだ。
シャノンは力よ。私に愛を語られても。
いや、
that counts.
伝わった。それが愛だからだ。シャノンには今僕の言葉が聞こえているよ。
Good guess.
そうだと信じられることこそが愛だ。
こいつ。
シャノン、君は家具なんかじゃない。家具だったとしても世界でただ一つの僕だけの家具だ。生涯僕と寄り添ってほしい。僕には君が永遠に必要だ。
庄司様、
焼けるわ。口説きならうちの人を超えたわね。
If only he didn't look like such a dork.
愛が強さなら坊やはどうしてそんなにひ弱なの？その弱さがつまり君の愛の程度なわけね。婚約者への愛もひ弱。両親のあっけない死に様もひ弱。君の人生は何から何までひ弱だわ。
シャノンは僕に愛と強さを教えてくれた。もし君が僕の強さだけでシャノンへの愛を確かめようというのなら、僕の愛を教えよう。
言うわね。
You got some special move here, bud?
なるほど。何度も蹴り倒されて転がされ、それでも立ち上がるのがシャノンからもらった強さだと。ならあっけなく殺されたあんたのお父さんとお母さんからは何をもらったの？
Suddenly, there was a blackout. Outside?
違う。これは
The thing blocking Gap's vision was the bottom of George's shoe. So man, that's a really smooth sole. You can have issue walking on these wet brick paths.
尾骨骨折。
It stopped right in front of the tip of Gap's
母さんに
nose.
もらったものはこの蹴りだ。
After several moments' delay, Gap jumped back. Of course, it was too late. If George hadn't stopped, it probably would have caused exactly the damage he had announced.
そして父さんにもらったのが忍。
Anger with a low boiling point isn't something to be truly feared. True anger is cultivated through patience.
君の暴力的意思表示は理解した。また婚約者と両親への名誉毀損も理解した。そしてそれを撤回する気がないんだね。
こいつ。
君の攻撃はもう十分に理解したから、そろそろいいかな。反撃しても。
ほざくな、坊やの分際で。
A pitch black hole opened its mouth at George's feet. But George rapidly opened his legs, straddling the hole. Oh damn, my man's got the splits? Same move wouldn't work again. It was an extremely light dodge, and the upper part of his body didn't even quiver.
忍耐とは熱くならず冷静に相手の出方を研究することだ。何のために？決まってるじゃないか。わかるかい？
わかんないわよ。
反撃してきっちり借りを返し、二度とちょっかいを出したくないと思わせ。
Alright, my man's a revenge best dish served cold kind of
涙と
guy.
鼻
I can
水で
dig it.
顔面をぐちゃぐちゃにして、それを拭うのを忘れて、額を地面にこすりつけて、何度も謝りたくなるほどに、完膚なきまでに、完璧に手叩きのめすためだよ。
Alright, definitely got that from your mother. George dashed. Pits opened one after another, but George would not step in them again. And because she persisted in that move, Gap was captured for a second time.
後ろ回し蹴り、顎部骨折。
Was stretched out more forcefully and beautifully than Gap's had been. Of course, while it centered directly on Gap's face, it stopped a hair's breadth away. Perhaps she couldn't rely on pitfalls at this close range. Gap's feet kicked at George's shins as a diversion. And in that instant of weakness, when he had tried to deal with that, she aimed a kick at his stomach. It was a bee-like stab by her silhouette heels. I hate Italian words. I hate Italy. But it sliced through the air where George no longer was.
上段かかと落とし、鎖骨骨折。
From beside Gap, George coldly announced that, his foot still raised. If the monarch's heel had been swung down, a collarbone fracture would have been an understatement.
こいつ、資金じゃ私より強いの。距離を。
Do you even have any ranged attacks or just more holes? She jumped backwards to gain a large distance. She jumped and jumped and leapt and even backflipped, increasing the distance between them. Should have been magnificent, but for some reason, it looked very similar to the movements of a small, scared animal. If she opened the distance, she could fight at the range that was her specialty, using a mixture of pitfalls and kicking techniques.
バカが私を倒せるチャンスを3度も逃した傲慢なら。
Gap landed beautifully and tried to aim a pitfall, when a razor-sharp wind cut her bangs. Yes, cut them. You got a knife? And twice. This time, it didn't stop a hair's breadth away, but scattered her bangs with its air pressure.
アルマーダ・コン・マルテーロ第一撃で眼底骨折。第二撃で脳挫傷。
Gap was too shocked to speak. George had closed all that distance in an instant and let off a fearsomely nimble mid-air double kick. Furthermore, with the accuracy and the edge of a razor, it had cut nothing more than a few of her bangs.
空手で蹴りの威力を。
Would you? I feel like karate's more hand stuff.
テコンドーで速度。
Like, it literally means like empty hand. Yeah?
カポエイラでは自在の間合いを学んだ。母さんがいろいろと移り気でね。でもいろいろと特徴を学べて勉強になったよ。
Oh, you watched her fucking her like fitness VHS tapes? It is the 80s after all.
なぜ当てない。私が女だからとでも言うのか。
君は王者の力として3つ目に暴力と言ったね。君はどうやらまだその暴力の意味を誤解しているようだ。この場合の暴力とはね、敵対すれば無傷では済まないという抑止のことを指すんだよ。
抑止。
Yeah, big stick diplomacy. That was the point. That was why all George's attacks up till now had just stopped before the blow. These bare misses, which were more difficult than hitting directly, had all been performed so splendidly. And any one of them would have probably crushed Gap in a single hit if George had wished it. He was deliberately not doing that.
君も言ったろ。暴力は滑る力だと。暴力で相手を破壊してしまったら滑られないじゃないか。王者の暴力とはね、見せるだけなんだよ。破壊しない、屈服させて自らの財産とするんだからね。君に泡でも吹かれたらみんなの囚われてる場所に案内させられないよ。
Gap had to admit it. She had to admit that George understood force in the truest sense.
みんなのところへ案内してもらうよ。抵抗はおすすめしない。もう寸止めはしないよ。
ごめんねリア。あんたの兵隊借りさせて。私一人じゃ手に負えないわこいつ。
As a large, pitch-black hole opened in the sky, thunk thunk thunk, 3 muscular goat attendants fell out. They surrounded George.
増援会？それは僕がひ弱であることを撤回したと受け止めていいのかな。
What, you need backup for this fucking scrub?
あんたの人間の力を侮ってたわ。
The power of love.
違うね。これが愛を覚えた男の強さなのさ。
ほざけ！臭いことをシャーシャーと。
What do you mean? That's the ultimate cool thing to
さあ
say.
ヤギたち、その男を潰して肉団子にしてやりなさい。このヤギたちはバカだけどパワーだけはあるみたいよ。あんたの死体婚約者にも見分けがつかなくしてあげるわ。
降伏拒否並びに継戦の意思了解したよ。以後は君の攻撃に等しい分だけ君に実害が及ぶことを宣言する。僕をまだ攻撃するつもりなら相応の損害を受けることになると覚悟するがいいよ。
George proclaimed that. A faint red magic circle rose up around him. But it seemed that George couldn't see it. However, Gap, being a demon, could.
魔法？どうしてこいつが防御結界を？しかもそれ反撃特化。それがあんたの抑止という意味。
From a demon's perspective, that might have been magic. But in George's eyes, it was determination. It was absolute determination that would show no mercy to anyone who wished for further fighting, and forced them to prepare for a significant counterattack. Absolute determination becomes magic. Ronave had been accurately blocking Jessica's fist with a shield, but something felt odd. Even though he was certainly stopping the blows with the shield, he felt his arm begin to strain and ache. All physical damage should have been shut off. However, the damage from her fist was gradually being transmitted to his arm and was accumulating. Ronave acted like he was composed, so that this wouldn't be noticed.
私はバテねえぜ。どうしたよおっさん。ちっとは答えてきたかよ。
いくら攻撃しようとも無駄ですよ。私のシールドはあなたには砕けないと。
砕けないからってよ、殴るのをやめはしないぜ。どんな固い心にだって言葉はわずかずつ響き、やがてはひびを入れることだってできるんだ。
Okay?
私は信じてる。この世に無駄な努力なんて存在しないってな。だから生きるんだろ、思いっきり。言葉だっていつか通じるなら拳だって同じってことだぜ。私の辞書には諦めるって文字は書いちゃいねえ
Taking
ん
the
だぜ。
gamble, the one in a million, that one's gonna slip through the cracks and get him. Those words were probably aimed at Cannon. Cannon had, technically, rejected Jessica's words. But Jessica knew that, no matter how obstinate his heart was, those words would eventually soak through. And she believed that surely the day would come when he understood her heart, stopped calling himself furniture, disparaging himself, and step out into his new life. So Jessica wouldn't give up. She wouldn't lose heart.
バカみてえだろ、男には理解できねえだろ。恋する乙女ってのはな、無駄だから諦めるって考えがねえんだぜ。
At the time, Renove certainly saw the red-hot burning glow of light surrounding Jessica's fists.
これは参りました。エンチャントですか。浸透付与とは厄介。
I guess we're just playing by playground rules. Within her relentless fist and determination, filled the power to succeed no matter what. From a demon's perspective, that was magic. Absolute determination becomes magic.
な、無駄なんてことはねえだろ。通ってんだろ、私の拳。腕をかばってるぜ、おっさん。
もう少し本気を出さざるを得ないようですね。おっしゃる通りのようです。この世に無駄なことなど。
そうさ、無駄なんて諦めたらそこで人生が終わっちまうぜ。通じるんだよ、絶対に。
Just gotta deal with you first. I'm an idiot, so this is the only way I can live. But even so, I believe that one day, I'll definitely be able to teach Ken and Kun about a new world. So I'm not gonna buckle in place like this. I'll definitely defeat you and save everyone. Talking a lot of big game there, Jessica. Kraus was repeating his useless effort in trying to somehow open a hole between the metal bars. Useless. There's nothing useless. There's nothing. Look out, goats had been swallowed up by those black pits and disappeared. Now was their do-or-die chance. This was their only chance to break the bars.
よせ、無茶だ。クラウスさん、素手でどうにかなるもんじゃない。
Hey Cannon, you mind coming in for an assist?
無茶をするんじゃない。無駄と諦めたらそれまでと娘に言われてしまった。私の体は無理でも小柄なシャノンかカノンが抜けられれば。
You gonna squeeze Cannon through those
こ
bars?
の段階に至っては
I know he's a bit of a
出ない
twink,
知恵
but
を
like,
絞るより
come on.
行動あるのみね。
That's like 5 inches.
力を合わせましょう。私もやるわ。カノン君、男の子でしょ。手を貸して。カノン君？
You just sitting in the corner sawing at him?
旦那様、下がってください。
何をする気だ。
いいよね、姉さん。もう一度だけあがいても。
私ももう一度だけあがくよ。一度だけじゃない、何度でも。
Jessica's voice had reached Cannon. It certainly permeated into his stone-cold heart. And George's voice had reached Shannon. If the love he had shown was embodied by strength, she would have to respond in the same way. An incredible metallic sound rang out. The first flash cut horizontally through several of the metal bars, and with the next flash, they were cut through horizontally again, causing them to clatter to the ground like bamboo shoots cut by a sword. Kraus, Kyrie, and Nanjo didn't have a clue about what had just happened.
南條先生、お屋敷や廊下をどっちに？
左奥だ、左奥。
参りましょう。
Yeah, don't ask any questions. Cannon found structural flaws in the iron, and he just hit him in the right spot, and the crystalline structure broke. Hush.
すぐにワルギリア様に気づかれます。
あんたたちは一体何なの？
僕たちは。
When Cannon hung his head a little and faltered, Shannon slapped his shoulder, smiled, and spoke.
私たちは人間です。ワルギリア様！警戒網に反応、脱獄です。なぜか見張りのヤギがいません。
どうしてです？
Uh-oh.
ガープですね。
You guys been slacking off. You're gonna get it.
召喚物を勝手に。ガップ
交戦規定確認。脱走者への射殺許可を申請であります。
おやりなさい。やっちゃいなさい。ガップ。
You doing good?
了解であります。45、410追撃狙撃戦準備。
Getting a little animated there.
弾手収束誘導弾。ワルギリア様。
Oh boy, cluster
逃亡
munitions.
阻止
Have
結界を。
fun.
そうでしたね。ここから逃がしはしませんよ。ガプ言ってたら舌噛みました。
As they ran down the underground passage, the path in front of them was once again blocked by metal bars. The door was, of course, locked. However, that was no problem for them now.
カノン、また鉄格子だ。頼む。
はい、旦那さん。
Yep, calling in the striker.
しかしすごいわ。一体どういう原理なんかしら。
原理など興味ないね。
A believing heart, Kyrie.
大事なのは彼に鉄格子が切断できてここから脱出できることだけだ。気にするなカノン。やれ。
お任せを。
Cannon sliced the metal bars again with a red trail. But there was a harsh, strange noise, and only a slight scratch was left on the metal bars.
なんとこれは頑丈な。
違う、エンチャントされてるワルギリア様の魔法錠だ。
切断できる？
もちろん。でも時間をかけるよ。
3分間待ってやる。
After taking a deep breath and focusing his concentration, Cannon once again extended his sword that trailed red. When he pressed it hard against the metal bars, sparks sprayed, almost as though he was burning through them with a blowtorch.
切断はできそうだが手こずりそうだな。
旦那様、敵に捕捉されました。下がってください。
追って。誰も来てないわよ。
What, can you hear the growl like it's Sidewinder? Just
私の後ろに下がってください。
of the fucking, of the radar?
狙われてます。45、データ治療。標的は捕捉。地形誤差修正。射撃曲線形成。制御点補正完了。
Alright, Shannon, you're up.
410、データリンク。410、データ受領。危険区域確認。
Shield time.
問題なし。
WO 師団装填48発。個別誘導 F&F 収束誘導弾準備完了。
Fire and forget.
45、射撃準備
That's
完
what
了。
F&F stands for.
収束誘導弾装填。410。
These will track by themselves.
射撃。
A golden arrow that sparkled gold was fired, leaving a gold trail strewn behind. It drew a curve, went through the door, through the keyhole, down the stairs towards the underground path at full speed.
何か光りましたぞ。
黄金の矢はシールドで防げない。カノン君、迎撃態勢。リンクしよ
う。ゲートキーパー了解。姉さんと一緒に戦うのは久しぶりだ。動じらないでよ。
うん、本気でやる。
なら問題ない。
Shannon stopped cutting the bars and stood in front of Shannon. Behind him, Shannon closed her eyes, concentrating her mind, focusing deep into the darkness of the underground path. doing her little duck face. Guided cluster round is a special kind of arrow made up of 48 sub-rounds bound together. It explodes mid-flight and divides into 48 mini-arrows. The strength of each individual one is low, but they pierce through all shields and possess total lethality against ground troops. Oh, so it's like Fléché. On top of that, each one of the 48 possessed autonomous guidance towards their individual targets.
分裂した。収束誘導弾分裂確認。師団467848全弾捕捉。
We got any chaff?
迎撃完成。
Anyone carrying some tinfoil in their pockets?
カノンデータ受領。姉さんの能力はすごいな。48発全部見える。
迎撃優先順位に注意。姉さんを信じて。
もちろんさ。僕は目を開ける必要さえない。
迎撃開始。
But maybe you should?
はあ
目標健在。迎撃されました。
Can't I just out here fucking doing a judgment cut?
48発全部。
シャノンとカノンはもともと一組の家具ですからね。揃うと手強いこと。
Yeah, like I said before, they're like a lazy boy and an ottoman. They just go together.
口内炎になっちゃうかしら。
落ち
Might
着
want
け
to gargle some salt
再装
water.
填弾種を変更精密高速狙撃弾精密狙撃戦準備
そりゃいいね。追撃不能の超高速弾。ゲートキーパーごときじゃ防御不能だに。精密狙撃戦了解。精密射撃用データ収集開始。
一体今のは何だ。
Don't worry about it.
安心して。私にもさっぱりよ。一つわかるのは、二人に頼らなきゃ死んでたってことね。
カノン君、ありがとう。鉄格子に戻って。多分次のは迎撃できない弾が来る。
そんな攻撃をどう防ぐんだ。
I don't know, deflect it?
撃たせません。カノン君、霊視線防備。
What? What does that mean? At those words, Kennen closed his eyes tightly and clenched his teeth. With Shannon at the center, a pressure and impact blasted out that could only be perceived by those not human. It's all Greek to me, bud. Well, I saw some katakana in there too, but you know what I mean.
あれ射撃システムエラー。ダメだ。
Getting jammed, baby!
あれあれ。
霊波妨害霊視防護急げ
Is Shannon just an AWACS?
何をしてるか早く耳を塞げ45
I mean, she's providing data link. God, my mouth. Data links in electronic warfare. An unseen and unheard impact blasted towards the Chester sisters. 00 and 410 crouched down, covering their ears, but 45 didn't seem to make it in time. Still standing bolt straight, her eyes rolled inside her head. Alright, their fucking brains are mush.
45損傷。コンパイラのエンジンがいっちゃったよ。いや私もノイズがひどいに。
45、410、そして00、損傷。狙撃戦を断念。リンクで、もろに来た。再起動しないと。
Raising their spirit particle sensitivity, precision sniping had backfired. They had taken the full brunt of the spirit particle shockwave Shannon had released. Not only 4-5, who had been hit directly, but also 00 and 410, who had been linked with her, were taken down.
大丈夫ですか？後でまた美味しい紅茶を入れてあげますからね。しっかり。
申し訳ござい
Pouring
ま
tea
せ
on a
んであります。
malfunctioning computer ain't gonna fix it there, Virgilia.
再起動をかけます。数百秒ほどお待ちを。
All the Chester sisters collapsed. They would probably get back up eventually, but it looked like it would be hard for them to return to the battle lines for a while.
一時的にとはいえ退けますか。なるほど。
あの子の面白がる筋書きは
That's how we
実
saw
に
that face
大番
bad
ク
things
ラスが
happened.
多いこと。
Julia tore the air with a large emotion as though opening a door.
さあさあおいでなさい。ヤギの従者たち、お仕事の時間ですよ。脱走者たちを殺して捕らえなさい。死体でいいのですよ。どうせ蘇生できるし。
The gold-colored door opened in the air, and countless giant goats with muscular bodies peeked their faces out.
さあさあ急ぎなさい。脱走者は5人いるから5等賞までの早い者勝ち。素敵なご褒美がありますよ。
Oh boy, I love
さあさあ
prizes.
頑張って頑張って。
Julia clapped her hands, urging them on. A prize? After glancing at each other at those words, the goats rushed to the door at once, trying to get out, making the exit a tightest squeeze as the trains during a commuter rush. And they blocked it. Each one wanted to get out first, so none of them could get out. Julia held her head in frustration. You really should hire better help. By the time, Cannon had managed to cut just enough bars to make a gap that could be slipped through. It proved a bit of work for Kraus, large as he was, and Nanjo, whose waist was nearly his downfall, but even so, they all managed to make it through. But the relief at getting through was short-lived. Immediately, another set of metal bars blocked the way in front of them.
厳重ね。よっぽどここの人を逃がしたくなかったんでしょうね。
カノン、すまんがもう一度頼む。辛いだろうが頼む。
These things tend to come in sets of 3. There was sweat on Cannon's forehead. You could tell at a glance that cutting the metal bars, which had been made even more solid by magic, was exhausting him considerably.
お任せを、旦那様。
お前にしかできん。どうか頼む。
It's all or nothing. Only he could do it. Holding tightly onto those words, Cannon concentrated his mind again and once more set himself to the task of cutting the bars.
後方、敵が来ます。複数。
ええ、今度は私たちにもわかるわ。すごい地響きね。とんでもない化け物が殺到してくるのがわかるわ。
ご安心を。今抜けた鉄格子を私が魔法錠で封鎖します。ヤギたちごときには破れません。
Yeah, they won't be able to squeeze through the hole you made. Shannon held her hand out towards the bars they had come through. But she stopped right away.
どうかしましたか？
ワルギリア様の霊波妨害の中和を開始。破られるとまずい。シエスタ姉妹の再起動後のイニシアチブを奪われます。
可愛いウサギたちをいじめてくれたお返しはたっぷりとさせていただきますよ。この小賢しい霊視で優位に立とうというなら、それを丸ごと剥ぎ取って私が奪ってあげます。
姉さんは霊波妨害に集中して。あのヤギたちにその鉄格子の隙間は狭すぎる。しばらくは食い止めてくれるはず。
Yeah, there's got like a pole or something and just poke at them one from the other side.
何を言っているかさっぱりだもん。
だいぶやばいってことだけは理解できたわ。
Kyrie picked up a metal bar that Cannon had just cut. Kraus had no weapon, but he rubbed his fists, and the two of them glared into the depths of the underground passage where the shaking was coming from.
この鉄格子で遮るものはおしまいのはずだ。ここから屋敷までどのくらいあるんです？かなり歩く。道は平坦だが30分は歩いた記憶が。
全力疾走ならその半分ってことだわ。
You expect Nanjo to run for 30 minutes straight? Well, 15 even. That's a while. That's going to be at least like a mile and a half. Maybe at most? I don't know. It depends how fast they go. Couldn't tell for sure since they didn't have the three-sided mirror, but there's no guarantee that George and Jessica could hold out against demon opponents for all that time.
歩く2倍の速度で走れば15分。さらにその2倍で走れば8分を切るわ。
さらにその倍の全力疾走なら5分かかる。問題ない。むちゃくちゃな計算ですが。ですが、カジマの計算式はそういうものです。
申し訳ございません。旦那様方、後を頼みます。
任せたまえ。カノンは1秒でも早く鉄格子を。シャノンはワルギリアとかいう魔女への妨害に専念したまえ。追っては私とキリエさんで防ぐ。
Then, the roars of beast rang out from the darkness, and numerous fiery, glowing, bright red eyes appeared. The goats rushed towards them with thunderous force, they were several levels more massive than the guards had been. The tremors they created were almost like an earthquake. The power and terror was tremendous, but Kyrie instead laughed with relief. Those massive bodies wouldn't be able to go through the gap in the bars. The group of goats crashed into the metal bars with a terrific sound like that of a train colliding with a dead end. Clumps of dirt fell here and there from the ceiling, and you could tell that the metal bars had buckled inwards. The force of their charge must have been no different from a train. If the metal bars hadn't been there, it would have undoubtedly have swallowed the 5 of them up and crushed them in an instant. When the group of goats pressed against the metal bars, realized that the 5 were right in front of them, they let out a terrible howl, trying to intimidate the 5. Though it was hard to tell whether it was really intimidation or because of the pain from being pushed and shoved. One of the goats among them figured out that they just needed to do something about the metal bars, and grabbed 2 of them with its massive arms and began to bend them as though opening double doors. Kyrie sharply jabbed her metal probe at the goat's vitals. The goat let out a roar of anguish. Probably hurt a lot, that was all. It wasn't enough to bring it down. Still holding the stuck-in metal pole, Kyrie relinquished the opposite tip to Kraus. Kraus ran there with all his might, leapt into the air, and kicked it in with all his weight and kicking power combined. All of that destructive power was forced onto a single point, drilling it in.
大丈夫ですかな。患部は揉まないように。お薬は後で処方しましょう。お大事に。
Don't be too nice to the goats now. As the goat who had taken a pile bunker to its vitals writhed with teary eyes, it nodded its head.
私たちのリンクも結構いけるじゃない。シャノンちゃんたちには負けられないわ。
当然じゃないか。私たちは仲良し一族だからね。
Yeah, now that Rosa and Ava are dead, you know, they don't have to shake you down for that much money in total, so win-win.
二人がかりでならいけるわ。次、右側のあいつ。
了解だ。いい嫁さんじゃないか。ルドルフめ、少し愚痴が多かったんじゃないかな。
へえ、後で聞かせてもらうわ。ルドルフさん、天国で青くなっても手遅れよ。
The goat's massive body sank into the rose bush. Even taking into account that the lake's power is 3 times that of an arm's, the strength surpassed common sense. That massive body, flying up through the air from being kicked in the chin, it was too epic. Almost like we're in the box, and you know this stuff may not have actually happened. Even George seemed a little surprised.
僕の蹴りが化け物にも通用したとはね、驚きだよ。
あんたの反撃特化結界のせいよ。ブレイズした攻撃力をそのまま自らに上乗せしてる。あんたの蹴りにはその化け物どもの怪力が加算されてるの。
Oh, look at that. I have a little pop-up in the corner of my screen. Thank you, Grindsoft Anti-Malware, for letting me know an update is available. Fortunately, you guys can't see that.
へえ、よくわからないけど、僕にぴったりじゃないか。誰であろうとも攻撃してくるなら等しい反撃を覚悟してもらう。専守防衛、僕のポリシーそのものだ。
Cool, you're a parry character. That's why Gap couldn't easily touch him. The counter-attacking type bearer had no defense power. My man's playing like Guile. Just downward crouch, fucking waiting to do a kick. However, because of its counter-attacking characteristic, it could be useful in defense by making the opponent hesitate to attack. The goats were foolish, so they attacked without worrying. But the effect was being realized to the full against Gap.
こいつらは単調だね。パワーが互角であるならば小柄な方が有利だ。
Lightly dodged the log-like arm. When that arm touched the barrier that protected George, it let off a strong red light. And the tip of the foot that was counterattacking gained the same shine, and the superhuman power of the goat was added to George's own. The second goat fell forwards and floated in the air for a second. Then, George's next roundhouse kick missed right over the fallen goat's head. For an instant, the goat hoped to get away with its life. But no. A heel was dropped onto the back of its head and was forced to kiss the ground.
上段回し蹴りからの練りチャギは基本だろ。たまにやると結構当たるよ。
こいつ厄介だわ。マジで厄介だわ。
何が悪魔だ、何が魔女だ。
Get real.
六軒島の主人はこの後ろ宮家だよ。それを体で教えてやるよ。
こいつ。
The only way to finish George now was... the only way to finish off George now, that his body was wrapped up in a counterattacking type barrier, was to not allow him a counterattack. Next time she sucked him into the abyss, she would have to kick and drop him, kick and drop him, kick and drop him, till she kicked him to death. But George had already perfected reading that faint warning signs that told him of the appearance of Gap's pitfalls. If he managed to jump over that next pit, then this time he would probably pulverize Gap's head with his whirlwind-like kick without holding back in the slightest, just as had been done to his parents. She was able to envision that scene vividly. It was far too late now, but Gap cursed Kinzo all the same for calling her out to this ridiculous island. Renove finally started using both his hands to form a shield. Without a more powerful shield, he wouldn't be able to completely block Jessica's fists anymore. The enchantment on Jessica's fist grew the more she fought. The permeation upgrade had already stacked several times. Alright, sorry about the cut, almost pissed my pants. I drank an entire pot of coffee before recording this, and I drank all the broth in my ramen, and I had that can of coffee when we started. I was about to fucking die. And those fists had also been given an impact upgrade, a piercing upgrade, and a speed upgrade, making them fists worthy to fight on par with the demon. I was trying to think like what fighting game character Jessica would be, and honestly, the one that jumps to my mind is Bazette from Unlimited Codes. She can spend super meter in order to cast a rune enchantment on her punches and kicks in order to like do more damage and unlock like certain combos. Not a super common fighting type.
ジェシカ様の動きと思考、
games.
動体視力が飛躍的にエンチャントされているのです。私の動きは最初から変わっていませんよ。あなたの動きが私を捉えつつあるのです。
それでも反撃はしねえわけか。
これが私のこだわりですので、しかしこのままというわけにもいきますが、そろそろ本気で終わりにさせてもらいますよ。
Renove's face turned into an expression he had never shown before. It was truly demonic, and in Jessica's eyes, full of respect. Because it was an expression only shown to enemies strong enough to make him get serious. With a whole body gesture that you couldn't call elegant, Renove set up a shield with all his strength, the size and thickness of a wall. Its sturdiness was nothing like a shield. It was literally a wall. And on top of that, with all of Renove's magical power, it pushed Jessica back bit by bit. Did he plan to push her back against the wall and crush her to death? Jessica tried to break through the wall with both fists, but it was solid. Without any exaggeration, it was solid.
これがお前の本気かよ。上等だぜ。打ち砕いてやら
ー。今度はそうはさせません。この壁は一味違います。どれ、私もエンチャントさせていただきましょう。
Okay, what happened? Renove made magic signs with his fingers, almost like a ninja. The wall glowed red for just an instant and became imbued with some kind of ominous power. Almost immediately, Jessica also gained a first-hand understanding of this. Every time she pounded her fist against the wall, pain rebounded onto her as though glass fragments had scattered and hit all over her body.
攻撃反応走行を付与させていただきました。
Cool, thorns.
ジェシカ様の攻撃を相殺することで威力を減退させ、 のみならず反応破片で反撃までできる優れもの。殴り続けるのは大いに結構ですが、それは自らにも及びます。
つまりお前の壁と私の我慢比べ
I'm
って
surprised you're
こ
holding
と
up
か
this
よ。
well, Jessica, without your inhaler.
上等だ。
ジェシカ様が膝をつくのが先か、壁に押し込まれるのが先か、見物させていただきましょう。
打ち破ってこの壁ごとお前の横っ面をぶっ飛ばす方が先かもな。見てやがれ。
Without hesitation, Jessica slammed both fists into the wall. Each time she did, a large amount of shards scattered, tormenting her body all over. Countless red cuts soon appeared all over her body. She grimaced at the intense pain, but her eyes were burning with fighting spirit, and her lips curved into a grin exactly the opposite of pain.
カノン、まだかね。私たちは平気だが、奴らを防ぐ鉄格子が平気ではなさそうだ。
もう少しです。
こいつらキリがないわ。おしくらまんじゅうだけで鉄格子を破りかねない。
The metal bars creaked under the strain of the group of goats. Several arms grabbed the bars, twisting them with superhuman strength. However, some bars were being pulled in opposite directions by different hands. Apparently, they really were stupid. The way those countless hands were grabbing the metal bars happened to match up by chance. Several hands grasped two metal bars neatly, put their power together, and pulled the bars to the left and right, creating an opening. The incredible sound of metal bending could be heard. The gap was getting larger bit by bit. They attacked the arms of those goats one by one, but they weren't getting anywhere. They couldn't stop the gap from expanding left and right. A loud metallic sound came from behind them. Kanan had finally finished cutting.
キリエさん、レディーファーストだ。南條先生も続いて。
旦那様。
Yeah, they can push you from behind and really squeeze you through. Kanan's red sword, with which he had cut the metal bars, disappeared.
ごめん、ワルギリア様の霊視線影響下に入った。私たちの魔力が中和されてる。
よくも大魔女と呼ばれた私にここまで抗ったものです。もはやその地下道ではあなたたちの魔法は使えませんよ。
Yeah, it was getting too easy, you know. Wasn't very fun this way, you know. Thanks, appreciate it. Magic Circle column drew complex magical formulae around Virgilia. With such full-fledged magic being used, Shannon's power couldn't even compete. On the contrary, it was surprising that she had withstood as much as she had.
霊視優勢を確保。さあ、シエスタ姉妹、今度こそあなたたちの出番ですよ。ってまだ再起動してるんですか？なんで最近の子は寝起きが悪いの？
申し訳ありませんであります。
Yeah, that's a problem with complex
私た
computers.
ち全員バージョンが違ってて。
Oh my god.
なんでバージョン
They're
変わ
running
るたび
fucking
にシ
different
ョー
block
トカッ
data.
トとプルダウンがしっちゃかめっちゃかになるに。前回不正な終了がありました？管理者権限？何これわけわかんない。早く直して。
この得体トラブルシュートにコール。何？
Oh god.
ユーザーコードがないと教えない？
ユーザーコードは45が管理してるに。
Get her a piece of paper.
9999にしか聞こえん。紙に書かせろ。
言語支援システム再起動できてないから文字も書けないに。
お前たちはゆっくり修理していな
Yep,
さい。
no sense rushing it. You know, haste makes waste.
私が行ってきます。
ごめんなさい。
The narrow underground passage was packed with goats, truly like a commuter train in the morning. Virgilia was again in disbelief at the congestion.
何をやってるんですか？ご褒美が欲しいから一番乗りがしたい？他のヤギにご褒美を奪われたくないから邪魔をし合っている？ このおバカヤギたちが。私が行きますから道を開けなさい。
Man, things really just fall apart without Beatrice here, don't they?
何？嫌ですって？ワルギリア様がご褒美を奪うつもりだ？なんでスクラム組んでるんですか？きつい狭い。いつからここはヤギ専用車両に？うぎゅー。今お尻触った子、次の駅で降りなさい。何あなた、こっちへ来いって。
The 5 people in Krause's group dashed through the passageway with all their strength. Couldn't afford to dawdle around underground. They had to quickly join up with the children on the surface. Once everyone was together, there would no longer be anything to fear. Just then, a terrible rumble started closing in from behind. The pursuers finally made it through the metal bars. They couldn't see anyone when they turned around. The rumble and the dirt falling here and there from the ceiling grew closer and closer, finally catching up with them and going even past them. It's almost like they'd been passed by ghosts. The instant after they thought that nothing had happened, the ceiling in front of them fell in and a single goat stood in their path. Giulio was sitting on its shoulder.
賢い子が近道を知っていました。偉い子ですね。一等賞ですよ。後で手作りのサバのカレー煮をご馳走してあげますよ。
Maybe it really was happy even to receive such a dubious prize. The massive goat showed its joy by putting its hand together and wriggling. Giulio leapt down, laughing that now it was finally checkmate.
くそ、ダメだ。魔力が完全に殺されてる。
まだよ。魔法がなくても私たちにはまだこの体がある。
無茶だ。あんな化け
Yeah,
物に
Nanjo's got a lot of body to
あ
work
の不思議な
with.
力がなくて戦えるわけが
No,
ない。
he's our fucking trump card, I guess.
子供たちは下がっていたまえ。私が何とかするから、その隙にあの化け物の両脇を駆け抜けるんだ。
No, Kraus death flag.
させませんよ。
Giulia clapped her hands and a purple magic barrier appeared behind her, sealing even the faint hope that Kraus had been betting on.
バンジ、キュースか。いや、まだだ。ジェシカも戦った。私が戦わんわけにはいかん。
本気なの？無理よ、あんな巨大な化け物に。
むちゃくちゃだ。クラウスさん、他の方法を考えましょう。思いついたら提案してくれたまえ。それまでは私が何とかするしかないようだ。さあ、下がりたまえ。
気をつけて。おや、
I mean, A for effort.
あなた一人でこの子と戦うつもりですか？
わからんぞ。
Yeah, it ain't zero.
戦いにはまぐれあたりの一発だってあり得る。
まぐれでも勝てるつもりとお思いですか？
Win's a win.
身の程知らずのあなたのために私が状況を整理して差し上げましょう。
何？
あなたが 100% の力を発揮したとしてあなたの戦闘力はせいぜい6。
Let's not bring power levels into this,
対して
please.
この子の戦闘力は1000。つまりあなたが100人束になっても絶対に勝てないということ
Okay,
です。
there's a 1 on the screen.
まあ確かに戦いには不確定要素もあります。その戦闘力に多少の倍率がかかることも認めましょう。しかしそれでもあなたがこの子を倒せる確率は 0.00001% というところでしょうか。お分かりかしら？あなたには万に一つの勝ち目もないということです。
Okay, really driving this home. Jillian and the goat golfed together.
くそ。毎日ということは配当は1万倍ということではないかね。いい大穴だ。
Yeah, all you gotta do is bet $1 and you really fucking... really beat the house on that one.
それを買うコインはあなたの命1枚しかありませんよ。しかしそれでもその奇跡に運命を託したいというあなたの気持ちですので、恐れずに立ち向かうあなたの勇気をたたえ、一つハンデを差し上げましょう。この子は左腕一本で戦います。
Okay.
まあそれでもあなたに負ける気は全くしませんが。
I don't know what we're counting up to.
それにしても何かしら、さっきからピンポンピンポンと。
Yeah, same.
よかろう。その勝負受けて立ってやる。左腕だろうとなんだろうと、どうせ私は一撃で殺される。私のチャンスもまた一撃しかないのだ。それに全てかけるしかあるまい。
むちゃくちゃだ、クラウスさん。あんたがボクシングをやってたことは知っているが、それでも大学時代のはず。
That's like riding a bike.
いやいや、仮にプロのボクサーがいたとしても、あんな化け物一撃で倒せるはずもない。
リングの上での試合なら確かにね。でも、
yeah, we can
ク
fight
ラウス
dirty
兄さん
here.
が望みをかけるチャンスがわずかだけどあるわ。彼はそれに全て望みをかけている。
まさか。しかしそんなのもうまくいくわけがない。
旦那様、
見ていろ。一撃で決めてやる。
Ho 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 ho. How unwise. I know what you're gunning for. The distance between the two of them is more than 10 meters. If the goat and Kraus both step in with all their strength to settle this fight with a single blow, the power will be double the norm. Both will clash together, so it will be relative 4 times normal. Even if, on top of that, the strike miraculously lands on a weak spot for a critical hit, that will only double the power. In short, Kraus's maximum power level of 6 times 8 will cap out at 48 at the most. I mean, if we're multiplying, what if we're like, you know, putting it to a power of 8? Might just barely be able to win if he repeats that lucky shot a full 20 times. Ho 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 ho. If you're killed every time you take a hit, and your damage still accumulates, let's see, perhaps you could finally win when we get to episode 24? Oh ho ho ho. If only this series could stretch on so long. It's already long enough! Either way, you don't have even the slightest chance of victory. Good gracious, what is that bing bong I keep hearing?
私も一撃に全てをかけさせていただく。ヤギ君も遠慮することはない。本気で来たまえ。
全力を要望ですよ。本気の一撃で粉砕し、肉片に変えてやりなさいな。
As the goat got excited and beat its chest over and over, it took a position as though preparing for a sprint. Ho 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 ho, is this what you were hoping for? Stake your hopes on your greatest power level, despair when even that doesn't reach at all. Pinged again! That thing's really getting on my nerves. What is it? Yeah, what? The goat roared in response. Then, with a match timing that only the men confronting each other could comprehend, the two leapt forward like bullets shot out of a gun. The men howled, collecting the strength from all over their bodies into one arm each. The goat's fiery glowing eyes clearly locked onto Kraus's face. You could perfectly see a vision of when he would step forwards, when he would punch through Kraus and blow him away, and when he would achieve his total victory. The long, painful days before today drifted through the goat's mind. I'm gonna be eaten! The hard days of training, where his senpais had picked on him. Alright. Sure, man. Leave this to me and go on ahead. Senpai. The faint glimpses of his senpai's warm concern during those days. And the joy of that day when his power had been acknowledged and he had been accepted as one of the team. Sorry to keep you waiting. You guys, why are you here? I never properly respected my parents. That's right. I actually planned on washing my hands of this business when this job was over, returning to my hometown. Sorry, my little goat sister. Yoni-chan caused you nothing but trouble. And I Actually, I have a childhood friend I'm gonna marry when I get home!
Yeah!
Are those just flags? Yep. Got it at the end. Before it was just a little what? All right, loser flags. Let's read about them. The term flag here originally described as an invisible state value in a game's coding, which is said to be tripped or triggered when the player takes some action that influences further events. The moment the flag trip itself is usually not visible and can only be detected through later changes in dialogue or events that signal to the player that they have impacted events or changed route. In casual usage of the term, and especially when applied to the concept of non-interactive medium, these moments are indicated clearly to the genre savvy that events are intolerably unfolding in a certain way are themselves called flags, and it is this sense that the phrase loser flag is used here, to refer to the occurrence of a cliche that is almost always followed by a total failure for a character in the story. It happened the instant before the two crashed and their punches crossed.
愚かね、ワルギリア。冷静な判断を欠いたようよ。そのパンチを受けてはなりません。弾きなさい。
Very instant, the goat's left straight and Krause's right straight crossed. The goat obeyed Virgilia's order with super fast reflexes and pulled back his straight, deflecting Krause's punch. Yes, Virgilia's decision was probably wise. After all, the number of loser flags acts as a multiplier on the opponent's power level.
危ないところでした。こんな負けフラグ立てまくりの状態で食らっていたら、どれほどの威力に倍率がかかっていたことか。さあ、そこでガラ空きの右側面に右ストレートを叩き込んでやりなさい。何？左腕一本で戦う約束？
Oops.
約束は破るためにあるのでしょうが！
You just can't help but be a villain, can't you?
失望よ。
I liked you better when you were nice.
あなたはやはり冷静を欠いていたわ。なんですって。直前に気づいて避けさせた私のどこが冷静でないと。
どうしてですか、キリエ様。あのまま激突していたら旦那様の勝ちだったのでは。
そうか。負けフラグの数が20でもまだ足りないんだ。
Gotta keep her talking. Krause's and the goat's double rush made it times 4. With the miracle on their side, the firm promise of a critical hit would double if again for times 8. On top of that, multiplier of times 20 equal to the number of tripped loser flags applies makes it for times 160. At a glance, looks like an incredible amplification, but even so, Krause's power level of 6. If multiplied by 160, that only makes for a power level of 960. Just a fraction below the goat's 1000.
だから冷静じゃないと言ったのよ。あなた失敗したわ。そのまま激突していればあなたの勝ちだったの。たとえそうだったとしても、この右ストレートでクラウスの頭を砕けば同じこと。死ね、後ろ見やクラウス。
Seems like another one.
食らいたまえ。ボクシング界最強の一撃を。
Better not fucking pull out a Dempsey roller like Gazelle punch. Having deflected Krause's right straight, the goat's own right straight crossed in the right side of Krause's face, which had been left open. But there, it crossed with a left straight from Krause. Two punches crossed. Cross counter. It's cross counter. The two punches crossed, and time stopped as each aimed for the face of the other. No, you don't get it. You're not into tropes.
まさかこのタイミングで相打ちに持ってくるとは。しかし戦闘力は160倍止まりで960。
No, you don't get it. It's a cross counter.
うちの子の1000には及びませんでしたよ。
いや、ワルギリアさん、あんたの負けだ。
どうして？
あんた 最初のクロスカウンターを弾かせちまった。確かにその次に繰り出した右ストレートが当たればクラウスさんは粉々にされていただろう。しかしそいつをクロスされてしまった。こりゃダメだ。悪いがあんたんとこのヤギさんの乾杯だよ。
What is this fucking shonen manga going on here? A cross counter has 4 times the destructive power. This is common knowledge in boxing. And if that is deflected, and the right straight hits, then the double cross counter has an 8 times the destructive power. This is also common knowledge in boxing. If that is crossed, then by the principle of leverage, the triple cross then multiplies the destructive power by 12. This is also painfully common knowledge in the world of boxing.
クラウスさんの戦闘力は6。
双方2倍の踏み込みで4倍。
クリティカルヒットで8倍。
負けフラグの立てすぎで160倍。
そしてトリプルクロスカウンターでさらに12倍。
1920倍。
Power level of 11,520! Cross's punch now with the power to easily win that Budokai tournament. Hello, Dragon Ball.
これは勝利を最後まで諦めなかったクラウスさんの
That was like getting fucking cold water on my face.
あんたの慢心
Just
が
like, what?
招いた結果だ。どちらが欠けてもこの威力にはならなかった。あんたよく戦ったよ。
But you dug your own grave.
もう倒れてもいいんだぞ。
Nanjo patted the goat on the shoulder. Oni-chan gave it his all. As the sparkling drops from the goat's eyes scattered, he softly toppled backwards and flattened Virgilia like a pancake.
重い。どきなさい。
The goat's massive body was too heavy for the slender Virgilia. She floundered about with it on top of her, but it didn't look like she would be able to escape. In that instant, the buried Virgilia had sealed broke.
悪く思うの。テコの原理を侮ったのが君の敗因だ。
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
どうしてあのカウンターでテコの原理が働くのかしらね。永遠の謎だわ。
今のうちに逃げましょう。
It's just how it is.
ヤギさんもお大事に。
それでは失礼
Yeah,
し
we
ま
might
す。
have been enemies, but I don't hate you.
ペコリ。
待って待ちなさい。これどけて。ガブガブガブガブガブガブ。
I'm losing my fucking mind. There was nothing more to block their way. They ran through the underground passage with single-minded purpose. But we do know that as time goes on, the repetitions, it gets more wacky, more magical elements float in, and yeah, I can certainly see it this time around. But with that head scratcher right there, that is where we're gonna end it here for the day. This chapter is gonna keep going until probably the end of the Jessica and George fight. And who knows how long that's gonna take? So I will leave you now to go do your things. Also because it's 6 a.m. and this video is supposed to go up in less than an hour. So catch you guys later for the next episode of Umineko. See you there. Bye. But first, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Now you can go. See you.